This idea that they're concerned about black lives is BS. Where are they protesting all the black lives that are being killed in the inner cities every day, every week, having nothing to do with the police, where it's black on black crime? Where are they? It's a fraud group. They're fake, phonies, and frauds. They're being funded in part by George Soros.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that. I'm surprised that you have that opinion. Because that's kind of like what conspiratorial people say.
No, you can go right onto their own website and read it. One of the founders of Black Lives Matter was worked for one of George Soros's organizations as an intern. This is just another bunch of radical groups seeking to protest in any way they can, cry victimhood, and then they want to elect socialist Democrats who are going to promise and profess they're going to bring change. They're going to bring change. Remember that asshole that we had in the White House for 8 years who said that he was going to fundamentally and radically change the United States?
So says the white guy.
Yeah, dude, if you want to troll, you're going to be banned from this room. All right? What does that comment, so says the white guy, even mean vis-a-vis what I said?
You talk about an organization that has a minority set from a white male standpoint.
You're a moron. Are you aware of the fact that they use Marxist language at their website? Do you know that they want the destruction of the nuclear family? Did you know that?
That's how you interpret it.
Okay, bye-bye.
This is how dumb these fucking liberals are. They don't even see it.
I criticize the organization for being a radical leftist organization, which it is, and the guy goes, so says the white guy. What a troll.
He just shouts at the sidelines, doesn't actually, say anything substantive. Just
I really do not mind substantive disagreement. But then he goes, so much for, so says the white guy. And then he goes, that's just your interpretation. Oh, you know what? Go back to mommy. Okay.
Oh, hey, Darth, I don't know if you'd be willing to do this, but I believe that our reactionary is genuinely interested in hearing how you explain presup.
I'm generally interested in, is he back in here again? Good, so now I can ban him.
I guess you have a quick trigger finger today.
No, this guy's a fraud. He's representing himself as a Muslim, but he just got caught talking about what he really thinks. That's why he was being a contrarian to Notre.
I didn't see why he brought up struggle in the first place. It was, different from what we were talking about originally. I wasn't sure where he was going with it.
If he truly was a Muslim, he never would have talked that way. Every now and then we run into these guys. They come from a Muslim background and they will pretend to be a Muslim, but they're not. Here's an atheist chat show. Atheist Mo, saying God bless you equals F you. Where do they grow these people? Oh, okay. Atheist Mo. He's a retard.
What is it with the word nigger and it being such a trigger word for such violence and such destruction? You know, somebody says that word, it destroys their life, or they all get murdered over it. People chimp out over it.
No, it doesn't destroy their lives. Blacks use it against each other all the time in the inner cities. They have no problem with it. So they have faux outrage, fake outrage, because they use it all the time.
I shouldn't be able to ever have a job again. No, I didn't say nigga. I said nigger. Oh wow, loon, go away. Get out of my DM. No, you say the N word and like people freak out. Like I should be executed for saying it right. So, what's up, Supreme Leader? Doing all right. We're gonna get that stream tomorrow night, and hopefully it'll go good. T-Jump stole our graphic and put it on his YouTube thumbnail. One for Mr. Batman T-Jump debate. T-Jump is going to stream it live everywhere. He took our graphic. I'm going to make a note of that during the debate tomorrow. It's kind of scummy. Get out of my DMs, loon. You know what's really awesome, Supreme Leader, is that Mr. Batman's going to debate Arn Raw soon, or have a discussion with them. Do you know when that's going to be? And Loon, one black person saying it's okay for white people to say nigga doesn't mean that all black people think that. He's not like a spokesperson for all the black people. You go around and say nigga around a black person, he might fucking knock you. Yeah, I don't care. Stop DMing me. I'm going to block you. And no wonder people get so pissed off when I ping them. It's like I can do it like 10 times. That would get everyone's attention. Hey, Matt, you here? Calling Matt Yester.
Yeah, what's up?
Why don't you try getting on Aaron Raw's show and talking to him?
Yeah. He's a lightweight.
What?
Just be, I don't think he's ready to deal with the philosophical issues underlying his perspective. He just ignores it and goes, I just want to deal with the science. I'm like, he's not gonna get it anyway.
What's wrong with evidential apologetics?
It's just not put in right in the right philosophical light. And, that's why precepts are precepts, because we don't grant anything to the unbeliever. Nothing should be taken for granted until they rigorously defend it, theologically and philosophically. They just want to pass. Oh, look, we can do science. Look, there's induction. We don't have to account for it or anything. We'll just, make you guys answer questions. I'm like, no, we're going to question you on how you can even do this very operational feature you want to engage in. As soon as I bring it up to him, he's just going to flail about. Just like every other atheist does. Oh, wait, well, what do you tell him? You can't do this and you can't do that? Oh, you can do it. It's just what worldview can account for that. That's why they hate presuppositionalists. They make them account for things. Yeah, so that's what differentiates the classicalists from the evidentialists from the presuppositionalists. Classicalists grant some, causal relations and causality, in the Kalam or something like that. You just don't give them a pass. Presuppositionalist doesn't give them a pass on one thing. So as soon as I press him on it, it'll be like, and then I'll be like, okay, we're done. He'd be toast within, 5 minutes of me just talking to him and just asking simple questions, which I know he's not going to philosophically defend. He's a neological positivist. Only science is the stuff that says stuff is meaningful. So, I have no interest with it. Just watch his dialogues he had with not only his formal debate with Tyler Vela, but the online discussions that were a formal debate. They were just informal discussions. Tyler just pressed him on that, and he concluded, dude, you're just a new form of logical positivist. But that philosophy was dead like 70 years ago. So, I'll talk to him informally if he ever comes in here or online on Discord. Oh, yeah. But I don't have any, inkling to, this is someone I have to talk to or something.
All right. So how do you can you destroy evolution in 10 seconds?
Well, in 10 seconds, but just with a simple question. How does chemical reactions, which ones are true, which ones are false, and how they generate proper logical inference? They don't. Everyone's from brass tacks, chemical states, the higher evolved, whatever.
Mr. Batman did a better job in 30 seconds. You did about 30 seconds.
I think it was about 10. I think you count fast.
You should eat more ice.
Eat more ice?
Yeah, eat more ice.
I do drink a lot of ice, actually. My soda pop. I have to have tons of ice in it. At least half the glass has to be ice.
You want to know how to destroy evolution in like 10 seconds?
Yeah, you kind of impromptu did it. So.
The something about the second laws of thermodynamics.
That's not really a killer, but you know.
What do you mean? I would have to go into explain what?
I've seen them flail about on that issue, but they're just off on something else. Yeah, they'll let things slide.
With evolution, the theory is that things grow bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah, on the second law is entropy. Everything's going to result in heat death. The universe is infinitely old. Well, that's the thing. It's they say, well, it just hasn't ran out of it yet because it just had an original amount and stuff like that. And then eventually in the future, yeah. So they're not going to argue it's infinitely old. So there has to be an ultimate cause. So the infinite worldview, though, would have the problem there. Why there is entropy at all? It's infinitely old. It would have ran out of it infinite amount of time ago. Yeah, they have to introduce a source that's injecting into the universe and supply out new energy. Keep the balance. Otherwise, it's losing energy. Heat, every exchange. So in the future, it will ultimately result in heat death. No more exchange. At least that's what the scientists tell us. Yeah, and that's just what physics tells us.
Hey, Matt, I got a question for you.
I heard someone call my name. I was upstairs.
Yeah, I got a question for you, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this. Is there a free will in heaven?
How you define free will? Yeah, we'll have the power of choice, but we don't have the power to sin.
You won't have the
Nor
power to sin, you say?
That's right. Nor the desire. Yeah,
Nor the desire to sin.
that's
Is that what
right.
you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, if that's possible, so you're saying that there's a scenario in which we can be simultaneously capable of free will and also not capable of sinning, basically?
Yeah, free will doesn't mean you have the power of contrary choice.
Okay,
God doesn't have the power of contrary choice yet. He's free.
right. So then why? So when someone asks like why the world is the way it is now, sometimes, or why does God allow evil, this, that, and the other, right? People will respond with, well, he needed to allow us to do all this to each other as a secondary consequence of free will, right?
Yeah, somebody uses free will theodicy, but that's not mine.
Oh, that's not yours. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say because it doesn't really make any sense why someone can admit that there is a possible world in which free will can exist and there's no suffering, and then also be accepting of this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I can believe, the result of most suffering is from the volition of man and rebellion against God, yet there's other things that we deem as evil, it would be calamity. It's Isaiah 45:7. I create light, create darkness, well-being, and calamity. And the King James translated as evil. I create well-being and create evil. Well, the evil there is, regarding calamity. Earthquakes, tsunamis, the flood, heart attacks, diseases, plagues, et cetera, which aren't caused by, they're not like it's not a human agent, doing it, but they're a result of the fall in a fallen world. But still, they're under the sovereignty of God, which has a sovereign purpose and a holy righteous purpose for anything that happens, even including our suffering. But we're still deeming that evil, even when the calamity struck Job in Job 1 and 2, as described as, evil. But it was God's holy righteous purposes in that, and because of the challenge of Satan. He's saying, look, Job only honors you because you give him good things. If you take away those things, he'll curse you to his face. He took them away, and he didn't.
Why did God respond to that challenge?
As a test of Job, and definitely display his sovereignty, especially over Satan. And when you read through the book of Job, it's one of the best texts on God's sovereignty over everything. Only man determines his date of death. Job 14, 1 through 5. It's parallel with Psalm 139, 16. Some control over the non-personal part of the creation, animals, man's will, et cetera, et cetera. It's exhaustive. So it's a really good book.
Presumably, neither God nor Satan would need proof that God could do what he wanted, right?
It's part of his in what I call the grand demonstration, Romans 9. A demonstration of all of his attributes throughout the course of redemptive history in many different contexts. And then you have the grand demonstration of that, with the punishment of the wicked, the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, and then in order to show the mercy displayed upon vessels of mercy, which he prepared for him for glory. So in that scenario, no one receives injustice.
I have another question for you. I've been thinking about. I chatted with you a few weeks back about Bosserman's take on Van Til, right, and the Trinity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, and so one of the things that you said was that there can't be I think it was, you said that there couldn't be, let's just say, like a diune creator, because one of the two parts would have at least some aspect of sovereignty over the other, right?
That would lead to the second problem there with the bindentity. The first illustration, if they're equal, then there's no personal context that defines a relationship. If they're equal, if they're not equal, then you have one usurping the other. Yeah, one would be undefined context by which the other one exists within the as an indistinct monad. Yeah.
So when you say that, so basically the second problem you're mentioning is that they're not equal. Is that right?
They're not what?
That they're not equal.
No, all three persons are ontologically God. There's an economic
right. So
Trinity, but
yeah, but so what I'm trying to figure out is why, because when I think of the Trinity, and I think there's certain verses that even state that there are certain things that like the Father can do, right?
Well, they're distinct roles they have. That's how we can even distinguish them even apart from creation. Just with just the existence of God, how we differentiate between the persons. They have intra-Trinitarian roles as well as inter-Trinitarian roles, with different roles regarding the aspect of creation and redemption. The Father sent the Son, the Son did not send the Father.
So what I'm trying to get is there something that the Father is actually the only one who's capable of doing?
Doing what?
No, I'm just saying, are there capabilities that only the Father has?
In that ultimate aspect, well, yeah, it'd be a personal attribute.
Right. Let me bring an example. I think there was a verse where it stated like only the Father knows when the end times are near. You know what I'm talking about?
Jesus said, "No one knows the day or the hour, no man knows the time or the hour, nor the angels, nor the Son, but only the Father." It could be taken different ways. Actually, it could be taken as collective. Jesus speaking from his limited human nature, because he had definitely both aspects. He was infinite, but also finite with respect to each nature. Plus, there's also a Jewish idiom that it was, even though everyone knew the date when the Father set the wedding, it was up to him to disclose it, at the proper time. So
right. So for someone like, for someone who's standing on the outside, and I was trying to understand this, you on one hand you told me that it doesn't make sense for a multi-part or multi-partate God to have separate parts that have different capabilities, right? Where that one can't be the ultimate context over the other or something like that. But then it seems to me that there are cases in which the Trinity, even in and of itself, has separate capabilities.
That's where we talk about the economic Trinity. That's distinct from the ontological Trinity. Ontologically, all three persons are God, fully, truly God, in every respect, nothing lacking as far as the divine attributes. The personal roles in, say, perichoresis, in the relationship of divine persons, the interpenetration of divine persons, and the Godhead, it gets to a very rich doctrine. That's what Bossman lays out regarding, right after he lays out the ontological Trinity and showing he must be three persons, cannot be anything less than or more than. And the next section of that chapter, in chapter 9, goes on to economic aspects of it, and he lays out the distinct roles, even within the Trinity and external to the Trinity.
I guess to me, maybe, I hope you understand my contention here. I'm trying to figure out how Bosserman can, on one hand, say that one of the parts can't have any superiority in any aspect to another, but then you're telling me that that is the case.
Well, they balance each other out, really. That's where when he lays out the roles of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit within the Trinity, he lays out a chart. I don't have a copy saved, but I got the copy saved with the binary and quadrant in the illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I remember those charts.
Yeah, it's got that chart in there where it lays out three aspects to each person, and then three across, and then three down. So you have a balance there. Christ is even mediator even between the Trinity within persons of the Trinity. I just forget the actual names. I still got to get that into a list, just in my hot list, so I can kind of remember it off the top of my head, but just haven't got around.
Yeah, I have to think about this stuff as well. one last question. I'm in my car, so if you guys hear some background noise, I apologize.
No, you sound good. All right.
So one thing that I didn't understand was the justification for why an all-powerful being needs context. Because it seems to me that if one can forgive the idea that someone can be tripartite and one and the same, you can kind of take a logical leap and say that an omnipotent God doesn't need context to operate in.
No, we're just saying he is the context by which anything else exists within, because he's the as Acts 17. Within him we live and move and have our being. That nothing in all creation is separated from the personal covenantal personalism of the triune God. That everything
what I mean to say,
relationship with divine persons. So I'm not saying the being of God needs a context higher than him, or it's not higher. It's just his being is eternal, ultimate, exhausted by the three divine persons. Since each person is exhaustively God, and therefore the being of God is not some impersonal class of deity. Is how he can speak in unity and also plurality in the scriptures. Majority of the time, he speaks in singular personal pronouns. You know?
When you explained this to me, you told me that the two parts, the only way for those two to have a relationship with each other, and I guess thusly have a relationship with us, is to have another context by which they're operating, which would be the third part, right?
Third person, yeah.
Yeah, the third person.
Personal context of any relationship must be an exhaustive personal context of the third between any two.
My question then is, why do they need that? Why does something that's omnipotent need that?
No, we're just defining, like, if that's why he proves it must be three persons. Can't be two, can't be four or higher.
I think that's the crux of my issue is
it leads to an impersonal context.
He proves it must be, right?
You're between God and creation or within the Godhead himself. Impersonal context. Therefore, God and creation would be subject to chance ultimately. So we're saving a ultimate personal context, not showing that other philosophies or other derivations from the Trinity lead to an impersonal chance context ultimately, and not an ultimate personal God.
I think because I understood, well, at least I somewhat understood which you explained to me those few weeks back, but to me now it's not making sense how someone can, if the relationship between us needs to be a personal context, right? That's what you're telling me. And what I'm asking is, how is something omnipotent while also needing to have a sort of prerequisite to do something?
Well, omnipotence doesn't mean you can do anything.
Well, even within his nature, right? Because I've heard that argument that he has to operate within his nature. But
that means he can execute all of his holy and just will. That's what omnipotence means.
But then impedance. Oh, sorry, I missed what you said. What?
Yeah, without being frustrated. You know, no one can frustrate his just and holy will, and he can execute it any way he wants. Yeah. So.
If he can execute his will any way he wants, I guess the question is, why does he need Why does he need a personal context? Is my question making sense?
No,
why does he need something?
No, we're just saying that's just the nature of reality. That he is the ground of all being, and that everything in created reality or our created realm exists within that exhaustive personal and covenantal context. Yeah, that's important there, because if there's any deviation from that, then both God and man and creation would be subject to chance ultimately.
I think the question is, how does that follow that something that is omnipotent needs to have some sort of prerequisite to have context or to have relationship?
No, I'm not asserting an absolute outside of God. I'm just saying, as soon as you deviate from what he's disclosed to us, and this is the actual state of affairs, and the only grounds for rationality, to deviate from that would shift the ground of what the location of ultimacy would be from him to something impersonal as being more ultimate than him. It's just the consequences of denying Christian theology. So if I would have to, as the ground of all being, this has to be the case transcendentally. It's just the default position. I mean, just theologically, exegetically, and philosophically, and it's the very grounds for intelligibility. We lose intelligibility as soon as you shift from the ontological trinity to something else.
Okay, and then one last question. Okay. And that literally one last question. I'm going to ask it and probably just leave soon after. You just said that literally the Christian theology is the only theology by which intelligible, right?
It's the only philosophically defensible worldview. Period.
Right. So bear with me here, because I'm arguing just out of trying to poke holes, as you probably can already tell. Why? Now this is. It might sound like I'm being difficult, but truly try to gauge the argument. If someone walked up to you tomorrow and gave you legitimately word for word the Bible, but switched up the names of the deity, the Trinity, and switched up some of the let's just say characters within the Bible, but they followed the rules of having an omnipotent God that's revelatory, all powerful, all present, all knowing, right? And it's a Trinity. But let's say the Trinity is the Father, the Daughter, and the Mother. And for all intents and purposes, right, you can go to church and spread this word, and they'll say this is blasphemy. That's not Christianity. I have to ask you, why is that worldview not coherent?
Well, they have we also talk about the functions of the persons and their distinct. That's where it gets economic Trinity. But if you're just changing names but still attaining the same properties, then you're just changing names. But you know that you have to have the ontological properties of the.
Well, here's the thing: is that one can change the names, right? But then by changing the events and some of the promises made by Christianity, they can still subvert the actual tenets of Christianity while still maintaining what you say is the prerequisite for intelligibility, right? Like they can, because from what I've heard from you or Darth,
a little bit more, because as soon as they go, let's change one thing, you're going to change things systematically. I mean, that's going to touch every aspect of systematic theology.
Right. So
rather than ad hocing it as they go.
Let's just say they ad hoc. Yeah, but let's say that they don't know they're ad hocing.
No, it's like what Michael Butler dealt with, when the first thing with the quadrinity was brought up. Let's say it's every respect just like Christianity, for example, and then say, they're just a fourth person. Well, that's going to radically change things. Plus, if you say it's identical to Christianity, then they should have some scriptures, just like we have.
Right. I'm with you all the way there. But what I'm saying is you agree that someone can make an alteration to the Bible, and then thusly it wouldn't be Christianity, right?
Well, Jesus said every jot and tittle has to be.
Well, okay, so do you agree that if someone changes like a crucial section of the Bible, and maybe they even wipe it out, that's not Christianity?
Right. It's the whole the whole enchilada.
It's everything or nothing, right?
Everything or
nothing.
So
that's what because what I've heard from at least Darth is that there are like 6 or so requirements baseline to be intelligible or to have intelligibility.
It hits certain issues, yeah. Right. But
yeah, really, and so what I'm saying is,
because we're not just counting for a precondition of intelligibility, because once again, you have that 3-point philosophy, metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, but a 4-point meta-narrative: creation, fall, redemption, consummation of all things. In every world, we've got to account for where we came from, why are there problems in this world, what's the solution, and where are things going ultimately.
But what I'm saying is, surely if I paid people $100,000, 10 scholars and 10 authors to get together and to try to create a holy text that's very similar to the Bible and stays true to the tenets that you need for intelligibility, and let's assume that you truly believe that they're not just ad hocing the entire Bible.
They are.
What I'm trying to figure out is
aping it to a certain extent, and then not sufficient on other things.
Right.
But yes, it's going to be important. His very birth in Bethlehem and all the prophecies and everything like that. I mean, that's everything you really got to lay out. I mean,
okay, so that's the crux. Does someone need to believe specifically in Jesus being born in, let's say, Bethlehem to be intelligible?
No, I mean, just talking the history of redemption, as everything is laid out in systematic fashion. You can tweak some things there, whatever. I guess you just want to ape prophecy, but you don't actually have what we had as this specific prophecy and then being fulfilled. You go, let's tweak that and just make. I mean, there's doing it today in the present age and going, we want to make that identical to historically what's been laid out over 1,500 years, 40 different authors, and then just make 10 people.
So, if I'm getting what you're saying, you're saying not only.
Well, it's where the great Boston question. Someone just said, "Well, let's introduce this worldview, mumbo jumbo." Mumbo jumbo has a god, and just you just have some. Where'd you get your worldview? Oh, we took parts of the Bible and then just changed stuff. So you didn't get it on your own grounds.
No. I understand that. I understand the humor of this and the all of that. What I'm trying to understand is when someone says to me that the only way of to knowledge is via the Christian worldview.
Yeah, they got
Presumably
they capital,
presumably they've legitimately axed out any other alteration that's not Christianity but still follows your guys' guidelines.
Right. Yeah, they have to I have to lay out the two sides of the page. Christian has the entire house built. The other, unbelieving worldview that needs something is going to go, hey, can I take some of those bricks over there from your house because I need them?
Where'd you get your
worldview?
But let's just assume that, say someone read the Christian theology in its entirety, they were a pastor, a preacher, etc. They got bonked in the head, and the next day they thought that all of the stuff that they previously knew about Christianity, with some slight alterations, was a new religion. So you couldn't actually accuse them of sort of, to quote, stealing from your Bible, because truthfully, they don't think that they're stealing. What I'm asking is, how has every worldview been ruled out?
Oh, it's easy. There's only a certain amount of, in secular philosophy, there's only certain categories of metaphysics and stuff like that can be asserted. It's already been run through the gauntlet, even in the history of philosophy. They always appeal to something in creation as the ultimate, and that falters, collapses. Schopenhauer's will, with Nietzsche was will to power, with Plato was asserting the realm of the forms, and Aristotle formed matter, and they lay out their paradigms. They're trying to do it in the grand manner, but just under rigorous scrutinization, leads to problems. Even though it looks on the surface like, oh man, you did this in the grand fashion, man. Trying to deal with all these categories. When
that's the thing, is that
on the minutia, then it blows up in its face. So.
That's the thing. I'm willing to, not even just grant, because right now I don't understand all of the complexities here or there. I'm willing to grant that the only possible way of being intelligible is to have a triune God that's revelatory, has a plan, is all powerful, omniscient. Yeah. So what I'm willing to grant that. In fact, I'm even willing to grant that it has to be some sort of spirit, it has to be some sort of parental figure, and it has to be some sort of child, whatever it may be. What my question is, how have you guys dealt with every iteration of those combinations?
The roles are paternity, filiation, and spiration regarding the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father role, paternity, the Son's filiation, and then the Holy Spirit spiration. So
right. So have you dealt with every feasible iteration of that requirement?
I've never seen anyone try and amalgamize or trying to divert from the Trinity while asserting the Trinity. Because if they're saying, okay, you have to have a triune God, okay, every other worldview shot. Now you got to say worldview with triune God. I think I really break down theology as rigorous as Christian theology. It's got to be just as rigorous. No one's going to do that.
I think my confusion lies in the idea that it seems to me what you're saying is that in addition to the requirement of like a Trinity and etc., that there's more. So could you give me like a list of 10 or 12 things that must be the case for someone to be intelligible?
Well, one of the many is so pervasive. Yeah, you got to deal with that ultimate personalist context. If not, then you're in a chance world, blah, blah, blah. So that's key.
Yeah, the Trinity,
Accounting for the one of the many. And ultimate personalism.
Okay.
As soon as they go, the only way we know he's a Trinity is because Scripture says so. As soon as someone says, oh, okay, we need that. Well, they got it with us, with having Christian influence. They didn't get it on their own.
That's what I'm trying to
point to the Trinity anyway, other than Scripture telling us that. So
that's what I'm trying to evoke.
On their own ground, so that it's merely right at the base level stealing from us. Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to evoke, Matt. Is that if I tried to maybe use the example of the guy getting knocked in the head, but maybe imagine someone by chance in some island off of fucking Guinea, creates a amalgamation of the requirements that are very similar to Christianity, and so that you couldn't truthfully in a court of law or with a knife to their throat say that they stole from Christianity. How do you deal with someone who meets your requirements but has an altered religion?
They all got it from us because they've had Christian influence.
Let's say that they didn't.
But the worldview doesn't account for it.
Well, let's say that they didn't. Let's say that they were an untouched tribe off of some island.
We don't have a real world example of this. And
No,
they
I
actually
agree we
affirm
don't.
The only ones
I'm
that
saying
actually
this is
affirm the doctrine
hypothetical.
of the Trinity are, other than Protestants, are Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. And okay, that's not an issue. Others refute
No,
on exegetical grounds.
I
Or
agree with you
soteriology.
that in reality, none of these cases probably have come up. But when someone says that there's no other worldview, presumably they're also thinking about hypotheticals too, right? Presumably they're not
Every
thinking
single
about,
facet, yeah, of the world.
yeah. Well, I think my issue is that the outright statement that there's literally only one means that it's been worked through every single possible. You know what I mean?
No, it's merely any deviation from the truth is automatically false. So you have to have the truth in order for that. So if they want to defend it as the truth, then they have to have that rigorous theology and then deriving that philosophy from it. And it's got to be defended to the hilt. Just like Christianity would be. But we already know that's not the case because God's told us the other ones are suppressors of the truth. Now, they have to have the truth, so they got this knowledge and they hold it down. That means they don't hold it down completely. That image of God keeps popping up. That's why you have societies that aren't, man's not as evil as he could be. They still have common grace of God. They can do fantastic things, even at a high sophisticated levels such as America or something like that. But it'd be brilliant philosophers, atheist philosophers to do great things, but they're just denying the very foundation thereof of their very operational procedures. They don't have the worldview that actually undergirds this. Plus, there's, we're dealing with man's ontology, all metaphysics, man's ontology. Well, that relates to all three of those categories. Man metaphysically has a communicable attribute of epistemological standard from God. He has knowledge in limited fashion, but also built in the ontology of man is an ethical standard. So those three categories of reality, knowledge, and ethics are actually packed into the ontology of man. Because as an ontological status, we're ethically obligated to bear the image of God. So that's how we don't have the is-ought gap in Christian theology. We're not going from the is and then getting to an ought. There's implicitly an ought in man's isness, as an image bearer of God. He doesn't become an image bearer of God at like age 10. Like, at age 10, now I'm an image bearer of God now. So
I got to bounce though, but you can continue this convo with whoever's listening. Thanks for answering those questions, by the way, man.
You're welcome. All right.
The Atlanta Police Department has quit.
All together?
Yeah.
Good.
Not necessarily on strike. It's usually only with like wage agreements or something like that to go on strike, but wow.
Most unions, law enforcement unions, you sign a agreement to never strike, but I'm saying you can't quit.
Yep.
Good. They got the cops they deserve.
Do some working out, but I'll still be
All zones 1 and 6 in Atlanta PD are not answering calls. Sheriff's office says no to me. Correction officers from jail being forced to answer 911 calls. Mayor's freaking out. This is what's gonna happen.
Let the city burn. It's fine with me.
If you got corrections officers during 911 calls, won't be trained to handle actual PD work. It's even more litigation nightmares coming to Atlanta.
Yo, Chat Caesar, can you chill? I'm kidding. Miami Vice.
Oh, this is fucking crazy.
You know what's crazy? What's under my pants? Were you guys arguing earlier?
Do we always argue in here? What are you talking about?
For real.
See, I agree with everything that's being said in here.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes.
Any Hausers? The Atlanta Police Department's walking off the job.
Good. Fucking dude, let all the poor people deal with crime.
Hey, who wants to go?
Resisting is that?
Hey, who wants to go rob a bank with me tomorrow?
I'm good.
Yeah, in Minecraft.
No, I might go loot the Atlanta Guitar Center.
Oh, hell yeah, that's actually a good idea.
I'm gonna go loot their local jewelry shop.
Dang.
Local jewelry.
While you guys are carrying heavy ass amps and guitars, I am stuffing my pockets full of stuff that is worth way more money.
That's fair, but who you gonna find is gonna buy that shit? You like
Amazon,
find some ratchety old middle-aged woman who's trying to.
eBay.
I mean, yeah.
Loot the local jewelry.
Yes.
You say jewelry or jewelry?
Jewelry.
Oh.
That's anti-Semitic. I don't
No.
condone anti-Semitism in this server.
Wait, is that are you for real or is that a joke?
100% pro-Israel.
What do you mean Israel?
Israel.
I don't know what you're. Are you talking about those imaginary states that don't exist?
You're thinking of Palestine.
I mean, I'm not pro-Palestine, so that I don't really.
Yeah, nuke them both. Fuck it, dude.
No, don't nuke them.
Well, I used to thought that,
There's
but then
Christians in
I
both
just
places.
realized I'd rather just have the Israelis just take care of the Islamic horde that is wanting to invade the West. So I think Israel in an Arab war again. I think Israel will just slaughter.
No, I mean, I'm not.
I am pro Greater Israel. I want Israel to take over the entire fucking Middle East. Fuck the Muslims.
Be American.
US, right?
I mean, see that to me, that's just like.
Why can't you just get rid of both?
Why would you want Israel to be in control of the Middle East? Like, do you
a lot better than a bunch of fucking Muslims.
I mean, they're already in control of the West. Like,
Yeah, would you rather your enemies?
There's no proof they're in control of the West. That is some bullshit.
Is this a religious thing or a political thing for you?
Would you rather ally yourselves with a legitimate Abrahamic religion than
Jews aren't legitimately Abrahamic? That I'm under.
Are you stupid?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, Jews. Bro, what planet are you fucking on?
You know, Jews. It's fun. It's funny. I mean, I agree. Jews and Muslims are at least referring to the same God, whether or not they're, conceptually. I mean, they're clearly not talking about the same thing. But do you realize that, like, if you're talking,
I said Abrahamic. I said a legit Abrahamic religion.
I don't know what that means.
That means like, bro. Come on.
Judeo-Christian.
I don't believe in Judeo-Christian. I just believe in
Jesus was a Jew.
No, he wasn't. Not
Jesus wasn't a Jew.
Not a religious Jew, not in the modern day.
Sure he
Pharisaics.
was. Sure he was.
No, he wasn't. He's
No,
dude.
he
How could
totally
you? Hold on. How are you defining a modern day Jew?
A Talmudic fucking circle cutting motherfucker.
Yeah, and Jesus. Well, Jesus doesn't. Well, there's two things. So Jesus, first of all, didn't believe that he was burning in hell, and that his mother had sex with a Roman soldier. And on top of that, Jesus believed he was the Messiah. And Jews today reject that. They accept the first thing about Jesus being in hell, but they do they accept that he's not the Messiah.
Dude, he straight up said Jesus wasn't a Jew.
He was not.
Jewish Messiah, the Jews rejected.
The Jews
him.
of the Old Testament
accepted him too.
The Jews of the Old Testament are different.
Yeah,
The
the
Jews
Jews
of
of
the Old Testament
are
are
way
different.
different than Jews today. Like literally, the Pharisees that they bitch about in the Bible, all through the New Testament, are entirely what the Jews of today are.
So the Pharisees, the Pharisees and the Sadducees do have a continuity. Like I'm not disagreeing that modern day Jews have a sort of continuity to the Old Testament, but what I'm denying is that they are actually truly fully Abrahamic. They're Abrahamic in some ways, but I would actually, in terms of Jesus, Muslims have a much better view of Jesus and Mary than modern day Jews do. Most modern day Jews who are actually serious about their religion.
Yeah, that's true.
Muslims at least venerate him as a prophet. Now that's not going to save them, right? Obviously, but Jews literally think he was just a liar about everything. So that's why I think Jews and Muslims get a lot right, which is good comparatively, but that's not enough to save them. I just don't think Christians should be taking sides. I think you could be nice to the people, and all that, but which you should be.
Yeah, it's not really our place to take sides.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true.
If you're doing it politically, like if you side with Israel because of politics, I'm completely fine with that. I don't really care about the politics, although I personally wouldn't. But if you're gonna say that the Israel of the New Testament, that when it talks about Israel is the Israel of today, if you're gonna take this this view that there wasn't a transfer from church from the Israel to the church, and that's why because you think that the modern day so-called Israel is going to be involved in the end times in that way, then I don't see the justification.
Yeah, it's like the evangelical apocalypticism.
Well, I don't think evangelicals are apocalyptic.
No. There's a segment of a strain of thought that sort of in a weird way sort of believes that, but only some.
Protestants.
Well, dude,
Aurelio, you don't know what you're talking about.
I don't believe in thought. You should stop thinking, right? You should just stop having an internal monologue.
Listen, dude, if you're going to be listen to me carefully. If you're going to be a sarcastic ass, I'm going to ban you from this room. Okay? Now, if you want to disagree with my rebuttal, that's fine. Oh, and he flees. Okay? He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Fucking nowhere, bringing your fucking authoritative bullshit.
He says it's a weird segment of evangelicalism. That's simply false. A large majority of evangelicals hold to premillennialism. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, there are Bible-believing Christians who disagree with premillennialism, but they're not in the majority. Now, when I say the majority, that's not meant to indicate that means that it's correct. I happen to subscribe to that view, premillennialism, but that guy did not know what he was talking about.
What happened? There was a bunch of people here a minute ago. Hey, Darth, you there?
I am.
The Atlanta Police Department quit.
What?
The Atlanta Police Department just quit.
All of them?
Yeah.
Good. They all resigned?
They're not taking calls at a lot of precincts right now.
Excellent. This is what they get deserved. Guy does his job, and some scumbag gets killed.
I think it all happened after the DA made the speech today. They charged that cop with murder. I guess there's free stuff in Atlanta right now.
From CBS Atlanta. They're just blatantly looking for something to happen.
Donald Trump's on Hannity right now.
In a courtroom. We are a nation that is governed by a constitution. That is our foundation for our rule of law. George Floyd was clear as day. I see no ambiguity at all, and neither did anybody else. This case is very different. 41 minutes, courteous, professional, cordial on both sides. And then a serious altercation occurred when he was placed under arrest. Now, another question that often comes up in these cases, time will tell here. Did the DA overcharge? Will these two officers be convicted? Remember the standard. This will be, hopefully, a fair, impartial jury of 12 people, the American people, American citizens, that will have to make that ultimate decision after they hear both sides, a defense and the prosecution. Here now with more. Salem, nationally syndicated radio host Larry Elder, civil rights attorney Leo Terrell, Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera. All three of them are lawyers. Let us start with you tonight, Geraldo. Your thoughts? They laid out the case. We have a very swift charge here. Now we'll decide.
We may be having a YouTube atheist who has a YouTube channel coming in here soon.
What's his name?
Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheist is his YouTube channel.
Has been committed by the officer involved. Put aside this preposterous overcharging by Paul Howard, the politically challenged district.
Let's see how friendly he is when he comes in here.
I do indeed. I think that this is clearly manslaughter. Listen to manslaughter. A person was provoked into killing another individual without originally intending to kill the victim. That's manslaughter. That's the charge that should be
nice
against Officer Ralph in this case. The question will become, remember, Ralph shot him twice in the back.
Kind of small following he has.
Were those fatal shots
I don't want to say following, but he does get some views.
Self-defense. A jury will have to decide. Clearly, don't rises to the level of a death penalty case, and I think
Supreme Leader's pulling in that many views
by playing to a mob of angry citizens, because this cop committed a crime. I believe it's on the tape. He shot him twice in the back, but he did not intend to murder him. If you give him the death penalty, what are you going to give the guy that kills 20 people or rapes the child and then cuts the heads off? It dishonors the law. But I really do think you can't lose sight of the fact that this cop shot this guy in the back 2 times.
Leo Terrell, you're a civil rights attorney. Do you agree with Geraldo and overcharge? And, well, I thought we had a system of justice.
No cops in Atlanta tonight.
I do not believe this is a case like George Floyd.
Well, let me first of all say this. Geraldo, like he was with Bongino, he's wrong.
BLM meets bikers in Ohio. Did you see that, Darth?
This was an overcharge. And
he's deafened.
The police department. What you have here, and the issue is very
posted the live feed on the chat.
Let's be clear. This is not the George Floyd.
North Korea is sending troops to joint border sites.
He assaulted police officers. That's a fact. And what you cited, those 2 cases.
4 rockets targeting U.S. Embassy in Baghdad.
Police experts.
Oh boy.
Officer had a reasonable fear of that his life was being
Gwyneth Paltrow unveils $75 This Smells Like My Orgasm candle.
And you have to understand what that officer is looking at. That is a question the jury will decide. But
Gotta stay relevant.
this DA turned that press conference into a cartoon. And he should be up for ethical violation. You don't have the civil attorneys up there and witnesses up there. The defense attorney should ask for a change of venue. And what is happening right now with this case? They have basically declared war on police.
Okay, the friendly neighborhood atheist has just joined the channel. Look in the join, see if he joined. Who joined?
Damn, somebody got them fast.
Yep. That's him. He joined. YFNA, atheist. YFNA.
Somebody let him in before I had a chance to.
Evolution.
Yeah, North Korea is sending troops to joint border sites right now.
I don't get it. PD are not answering calls in Atlanta. That doesn't make sense.
Because there's no police there right now.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, the cops quit.
The cops deserted their town.
Hey, you know what? You're going to screw police when they're doing their job and they act in good faith. Then they get what they deserve. Can you provide any links to where the Atlanta cops resigned?
It's streaming on Twitter.
Yeah, guess what's going to happen if it's true the cops all resigned? Guess what crap's going to break out?
It's pretty much chaos.
Yes, you want to catch this if he comes in here? Yeah, don't stream it to. I just want the. Yeah, go ahead. Go. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead and stream it. No, don't stream it to. Don't do it. I'll just upload I'll just download it from your page, your YouTube channel. I'll just download it from your YouTube channel and re-upload it on mine. I don't want to mess with changing a bunch of stuff. It kind of wrecked links earlier when you did. Well, I told him to come in here. This is Chris Watkins. Can I unmute him?
Seems like a troll.
I don't know why. I don't know who he is. He's hot mic though, and you can stop doing that any second. Stop hot micing, or I'm gonna mute you. What?
Supreme Leader.
You were garbled. Couldn't understand what you said. That means Supreme Leader didn't hear you either.
Supreme Leader, are you there? We might be having an atheist YouTuber coming in here soon. He just joined.
Nice.
War is breaking out overseas. War is breaking out here. This is all kind of wonky. Are you going to debate him, Darth?
Well, he requested to speak with me. So he's an atheist YouTuber, and he saw that I was in the text chat of his YouTube channel, live stream. And I told him how to join the server. And he joined it, and he just DM'd me, but he hasn't come into the...
Tell him to join the Atheist Helpline. Maybe he will after he's done streaming.
His stream is over. Just then.
Dun, dun, dun. Truth speller.
This truth speller, king of all memes.
North Korean officials have said that relations between South Korea and North Korea have no future.
How long have they been saying that?
Look, I know there's been a lot of saber rattling in the past, but I haven't really seen movement like this by them.
Look, they're not going to start a war. That would be suicide. Do you have any idea how antiquated their Air Force is?
Do you know President Xi of China told his troops to prepare for war like 3 weeks ago? I don't know what that entails. Maybe this is part of it.
With who?
He didn't say.
Yeah. The Chinese army is crap.
But it's looking like that they're having Iron Age stick fights with the Indian army in the Himalayas. I'm not even memeing. Did you hear me earlier when I was talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
I'm telling you, that's really bizarre. Two of these modern military forces having an Iron Age battle in the Himalayas with sticks and stones, and what is that? What is that? I don't get it. Did they run out of bullets? It was in the middle of the night and it was dark.
I'm not getting anything on the Atlanta police resigning. All I'm saying, seeing an article that they're not answering. Atlanta police disputes rumors of mass walkouts.
Are you serious?
CNN is reporting Atlanta police officers not answering some 911 calls.
Let me go back to my Twitter search. Okay, Detective Blue Line on Twitter says, as of right now, all zones 1 through 6 in Atlanta PD are not answering calls. Sheriff's Office says no to mayor. GSP is the only handling crashes. Correction officers from jail being forced to answer 911 calls. Mayor is freaking.
Well, if those cops are going to stand by when one of their own is being unjustly, indicted, they're going to sit around until it happens again. I love Ann Coulter, but I'm disappointed in some of her criticisms of Trump, but I still love her.
You like Trump?
Oh, very much so.
Is there anything that you disagree with Trump? Anything you dislike about him?
Yeah, this.
Let's see.
It looks like a lot of these tweets that I see.
He's more soft on homosexuality than I would be.
So a lot of these tweets that I'm seeing about them walking out pretty much have all come within a lot of them in the last 30 minutes.
No. Well, in spite of my differences, I still love you, Ann Coulter.
She's hot.
All right, get ready, Supreme Leader. He says he wants to talk with me, so I told him to come on in here.
We should have some elevator music going while we wait.
Yeah.
Elevator music.
Blues Brothers, Roof Me Beneath.
You guys want? I'll tell you this story later. You made it in here, YF.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the server.
Nice to meet you.
Good. Well, what would you like to talk about? You said you have some questions for me.
Sorry, it just cut out.
I said, you said earlier on a previous stream you had questions for me.
Oh, no, I didn't necessarily have like direct questions for you. I was just wondering if you just wanted to, not debate. I am definitely not a debater, but just have a conversation and,
Weren't you the same person who said you had 3 questions for me?
Yes, correct. I was saying like during a conversation, we could go back and forth and I may have, I would only like to ask you 3 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I totally was not ready for this. I'm sorry, I thought we were just talking.
Well, you said it the other day and you were quite emphatic about it, and you were the one who
you're
asked to talk with me on your stream, so I sent you the link. Here we are.
Have you always been a presuppositional apologist?
I'll say no, but yes. Okay, no, in that I used to debate evidentially, but once I understood presuppositionalism, Christians can't help but reason presuppositionally, although they do so in a very light manner, L-I-T-E.
Okay.
Christians are always presupposing the primacy of God.
Oh, okay. Do you like doing this? Like having these conversations? Like what do you like about it?
I like it because it's giving me an opportunity to show unbelievers that their rejection of Christianity is going to be eternally fatal. It's a way to get cut through the cloud and the self-deception that they have to see the truth about their need that they need to escape eternal damnation.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Because when you debate or reason evidentially, the unbeliever just goes, But when you do it in a truly biblical way, they can't do because the non-acceptance of the Christian worldview is an implicit counterclaim that would itself have to be defended. There's no neutrality toward the God of Christianity.
Why is that?
Why? Because you can't be neutral toward God, and you can't be neutral toward a worldview. Whatever worldview that you do not accept, you deny.
Okay, that makes sense. So from if I'm understanding you correctly, because I'm an atheist, I am essentially denying God. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you do not accept the Christian worldview, then you deny it, either explicitly or implicitly.
Okay. What do you think they're like mistakes, whether it be myself or atheists are making, in trying to have these conversations? Like, because to me, at the end of the day, I don't want, nor do I need to prove for lack of a better word, that atheism is the right way to go. I'm not going to sit here and say my way is right, your way is wrong. I don't believe in that. And at the end of the day, I want to believe, what's true. If that truth leads to God, then I'm totally open to it. If it leads to Christianity, I'm totally open to it. I hope you'll find that, unlike many atheists, I'm not completely closed off, to being wrong and to Christianity at all.
Well, you are actually opposed to it. You deny it.
But you don't think I'm at least genuinely curious and want to know?
You may be curious, but at this moment you are in denial. Your current non-acceptance of the Christian worldview. Are you familiar with the Bible?
Yes, although I will say my biblical knowledge is severely lacking, as it's been many, many years since Catholic school.
Okay. Are you familiar with the gospel of Jesus Christ, the triune God of creation, the second person of the Trinity, incarnated himself in the person of Jesus Christ? He died and rose again, and commands all men everywhere to repent and believe on him for the remission of sins. And he's coming again to judge the living and the dead. Mm-hmm. You familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that too is a worldview, right? It's the Christian worldview. Now, if you do not accept it, then it is a de facto denial, whether one realizes it or not. So you're not in a neutral position. This is a common, widespread mistake that internet atheists make, and virtually almost the entire world of YouTube atheists, they make this just terrible blunder that they're neutral. They're not neutral.
Okay. So I do not want to misrepresent you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So would the first part to being Christian is just saying I believe in God, or I guess how would I get to where you're at, for example?
Well, you have to acknowledge the God that you already know. You already know that God exists. You're just suppressing that on a daily basis because you do not, number one, want to acknowledge God, nor do you want to be thankful for him. So every day you suppress that, and you basically, almost at an unconscious level, you construct this idea that the world around you just is, that it's not a set of created facts by God. It just is.
Okay.
Right? So the first step is we have to stop suppressing the truth, acknowledge the God that we already do know, stop suppressing the truth, and be thankful for him. And then God commands us to repent because we're under his wrath, because he's an entirely righteous and holy God, and he's provided a way of escape from the damnation that is coming to each one of us when our heart stops.
Okay. So the first part would be me just accepting God, and then
Can I?
Well, yeah, you would have you. Sure, go ahead, Perry.
I was going to say another way to say it would be that not another way to say that you have to recognize God is another way to say it would be that you have to abandon your rationality, that you believe things just exist.
Yeah, when we acknowledge God, you have to abandon the idea that your reasoning is sovereign, that you possess autonomous reasoning. There's only two kinds of people on this planet: those whose reasoning and cognition acknowledges that their mind must be in submission to God's mind and how he reveals it, or one is holding to autonomous reasoning, where your reasoning is sovereign. You decide what the grand nature of reality is as a worldview. So you then have a canvas, a metaphysical canvas upon which you can place facts and then provide an interpretation and a relationship between the facts. That's called autonomous reasoning. But autonomous reasoning is self-defeating and self-refuting once you examine it. Unbelievers who exercise autonomous reasoning, they generally don't recognize that it's self-defeating because they haven't gone far enough metaphysically to analyze the situation transcendentally. Once you analyze it transcendentally, there's no system to which one could attest to. There's no worldview that they can account for. The very criterion that atheists and agnostics use to dismiss God, they throw out the window when it comes to their own model of reality when they speak forth facts.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to do that. Like, I genuinely do want to, I struggle. Sorry, I shouldn't say I struggle. Sorry, give me a moment. I want to, carefully explain myself. I do want to know, if there is a God. I adamantly do not want to sit here and be an atheist if I'm wrong. I should say with what I've seen so far, I'm having trouble getting to a belief in God.
Well, that's because you've decided. That's because you've decided that facts are unrelated to God. How'd you determine that? You first have to realize that position that you are at is untenable. First of all, you need to realize you're not neutral. You will either affirm that God is the necessary precondition of everything, and that he has disclosed himself in natural and special revelation, or you will be in denial of it, where you will decide that one or more facts do not necessitate referencing God as the necessary precondition. Those are the only two positions that you can have. There is no middle ground. There is no neutrality.
Okay.
So how did you determine that facts do not necessitate referencing God as the precondition?
I guess I didn't specifically determine that so much as based off what I've looked into so far. It just hasn't gotten me to believe in it. But I have not, at least not intentionally. I mean,
yes, you have intentionally, because you decided that one or more facts, all right, can be invoked as actual and intelligible without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God. You believe that facts can be invoked standalone without starting with God as the metaphysical primary.
Okay.
You've decided that already. Facts do not, in your view, right now, facts do not necessitate referencing God as the necessary ultimate precondition of all facts. In a world where God is, all facts are created facts. All facts, this ballpoint pen in my left hand right now, would not be a fact, nor would it be intelligible unless it referenced the necessity of God and his creation and his plan of creation, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't accept that, then you've decided that this ballpoint pen or whatever fact you have in consideration before you can be invoked as actual and intelligible without the necessity of referencing God as the precondition. So you're not neutral. Nobody is. That's the problem with internet atheists and YouTube atheists. They have so bamboozled themselves, not only by themselves, but by listening to other fellow atheists and watching atheist YouTube channels, that, they just lack belief. That's a canard. Okay?
Okay. Question. Will you be on here for a little bit? I have to put my nephew to bed.
Yes.
Okay. Give me a little bit. I want to say probably be about 20 minutes, maybe. It's hard to say for certain, but I got to get him to bed.
Hey, Darth, I have a question.
Thank you.
Sure. Yep. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just a quick. It's a pleasure to speak with you. I wanted to ask you about how the necessary precondition operates in other religions. Would you say that the Islamic faith could make a similar claim to the necessary precondition of the universe with regards to Allah, or do you believe that it is necessarily regarding the biblical Christian God and the risen Christ?
No, because I hold to the revelation of the Christian God. Allah does not exist. Allah is a complete fabrication and a figment of Muhammad and Muslims' imagination. No such God exists.
Okay, and you would say that the primary mechanism of which to determine that is revelation?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, without God engaging in revelatory actions, there would be no way to know that he exists. So God has already taken that step. He reveals himself in terms of all facts. That if you just look at one fact in front of you right now, I'm looking at a ballpoint pen in my hand. The fact that I have rational apprehension and acquisition of this pen means that God exists. Now, somebody will say, well, how does that follow? The answer is because if we do not start that all facts indicate God, then I could not be a rational being. I couldn't be an agent.
Okay,
there can't be agency or rationality in a not God world.
Okay, could I have another quick question? I don't want to take up all your time.
No, look, he's going to be gone for 20 minutes. You can say whatever you want, and you're more than free to disagree. I welcome disagreement. We don't like people who troll here, but if you want to vigorously disagree and tell me I'm wrong, we're fine with that.
Sure, okay. I wanted actually to start with some agreement. I agree with you on the atheist position. It is, in fact, a denial, and I'm totally fine with that. I think that it would be ridiculous because part of the Christian worldview is necessitating the acceptance of the risen Christ. And because of that, being an atheist means that you necessarily reject that worldview. So I totally agree with you there. I guess what I would say is, how would you convince somebody who has rejected the claim of the risen Christ? And let's say, for example, while you understand that they have rejected it because they're suppressing knowledge, how would you convince them to stop repressing that knowledge?
Convincing them and proving something to them are different.
Proof and persuasion are not the same thing. I would simply point out to them, I would basically explain to them what God's revelation is about himself. I would explain the gospel of Jesus Christ so that they understand what that means, Jesus' death, burial, resurrection. He's coming again. I would explain to him God's revelation in the Christian scriptures, and that the non-acceptance of that leads to complete metaphysical collapse. Right? It doesn't matter what worldview it is. Any worldview that denies the self-disclosure of the Christian God will ultimately be self-defeating. Right? Now, most people who claim to reject Christianity, you're roboting. Okay?
Sorry.
Most people who claim to reject Christianity don't come out and say, oh, I reject it because I don't want to bow the knee. They reject it and say, oh, I don't have a reason to. Oh, it's not justified. But then by virtue of their non-acceptance, that's a de facto denial. They can only do so from their worldview. So then when they express the non-acceptance and the denial of the Christian worldview, they're going to have to defend their worldview. And then I will show them that it is impossible to deny the Christian worldview. That the God of the Bible, it's not just God, it's the God of the Bible and his character set, his collection of attributes are the necessary ontological conditions for actuality and intelligibility. Right? If you were in a world, can I ask you what your worldview is?
Yeah, I'm tentatively an atheist, but I'm fine.
Okay. So in a world where somebody acknowledges that God is the necessary precondition, but they do not want to accept the revelation of God, I simply point to them that without the God of the Bible's attributes, it doesn't matter that they pay lip service that there is a God, because you're going to need that God's character qualities, that he's always truth revealing, that he's omniscient, he's omnipotent. Like take, for example, the God of Islam. God of Islam is the greatest of all deceivers. And in fact, the Quran is very clear on this, that Muslims are so embarrassed by it that they have to lie about the Arabic word and say that it means planning, when anyone who knows Arabic knows that it means to deceive. So if Allah is the greatest of all deceivers, how can we know that we have intelligibility? Right? According to Islam, it was Allah who made everyone for hundreds of years to believe in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. It wasn't the Christians who are responsible for deceiving people. It's Allah. So when Muslims object to Christians exalting the crucifixion of the Lord Jesus and his substitutionary atonement, and they criticize that, they're criticizing Allah, because he's the one who deceived people to believe that. Well, if you have a God like that, you can't have intelligibility for existence.
Okay, thank you for answering my question. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
So when you say you're tentatively an atheist, how did you decide that all facts don't necessitate referencing God?
I don't know. You put a lot of doubt in my mind, Darth. I think that I'm reconsidering here.
Yeah. Now, keep this in mind. Either all facts are indicative of God, or no facts are indicative of God. Right? It's not that there are just some facts that are overwhelmingly persuasive of God. Now, there are some very powerful evidential and philosophical arguments for God. But let's be clear. All facts indicate God. The fact that I'm holding a ballpoint pen in my hand is just as powerful as a line of reasoning as the Kalam cosmological argument. Right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So when somebody says, oh, well, you haven't convinced me, you haven't persuaded me that all facts are indicative of God, I say, good, then how did you decide that they're not? And they'll say, well, how did you decide that it did? Well, it's very simple. I have rational acquisition of this ballpoint pen. If my rational acquisition of this pen is not indicative that the ground of all being, the ultimacy of reality, is a personal creator God, then how am I an agent and rational in a world without God? Okay? And saying it's an emergent property of evolution is just begging the question. And even atheist philosophers recognize if naturalism is true, there are no minds.
Okay, could I have one last question before I head off?
Yeah.
Do you think that, Christ or the Christian God would have you back if you were gone for so long?
Jesus told his disciples, all manner of sins among men can be forgiven, but the only sin that is unforgivable is the blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, which is the persistent and chronic denial of the convicting power of the Holy Spirit to repent and turn to Jesus Christ. Now, that happens the moment the person dies. Up until the time we die, God's grace still abounds for us to bow the knee and repent and turn to him to save us from our wickedness.
Okay. Thank you, Darth. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in. It's interesting that the guy, real quick, it's interesting that the guy who was in here earlier, your friendly neighborhood atheist, you should have seen him on the YouTube stream a couple of days ago. He had a completely different attitude toward me than when he was in here.
Really?
He had a very he had a very kind of sugar-coated, hostile attitude among his fellow atheists on the YouTube stream. But when he comes in here, he's a completely different disposition.
Hey, Darth, what kind of mic are you using? Your mic sounds fantastic.
Actually, it's the built-in microphone from a MacBook, a 7-year-old MacBook Pro.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. Oh my God. You know what? I had a good mic. You know those lab tech mics that look like a stick? That was my best mic ever. And everybody said, wow, you must have a really expensive mic. And my mic was like $10. And I've been looking for those for so long.
Well, believe it or not, the new MacBooks claim that they have studio quality microphones in the laptop. So, I mean, I don't really listen to myself very much. Occasionally, if somebody gives me a link where somebody posted something, I might listen for a minute. But this is on a 7-year-old. Dude, I should get a new MacBook. This one's getting old, but this is a 7-year-old Apple laptop. So.
Did you used to use a headset?
I use a Bluetooth headset, earpiece. I don't use the microphone.
Oh, okay.
I use the microphone from the laptop. For some reason, it's great for phone calls. I use the Parakeet. You might want to deafen your system there so you don't hear this. I'm using Apple AirPods. I would use the microphone. It's great for phone calls, but for some reason when it goes through the Bluetooth to the laptop and then Wi-Fi to the router, the sound quality degrades. So I use the laptop mic.
Quit.
Yeah, here's a guy doing his job. Guy points the taser at him. What is he supposed to sit there? You know, just stand there and get hit with the taser?
Can you believe they're charging him with murder? The officer?
It's outrageous. If you watch the whole videotape, these guys were as professional as the day is long.
And the other guy who lost his taser to the guy Brooks is going to testify against the cop.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, he may be doing that to save his own skin.
They're going to walk, so to me it doesn't matter at this point. The officers.
What's up, Muggles? You remember me?
Wait a minute. Which one are you?
Chad.
Chad. Oh, I remember sitting and listening to you talk. We would talk at night, and we did some World of Warcraft, and yeah, I remember you. Yeah, I thought you were the same guy. And I'm like, wow, he's moving up in the world. He got his own server and he's got everything hopping. I told my friend, I said, man, he works so hard on his servers. And he he's like a perfectionist. He gets it just right. He's got everything set up, all the bots set up, and yeah.
Oh, thank you. Your friendly atheist, neighborhood atheist guy was a little boring, Darth.
Well, he had a lot more chutzpah on his live stream than he did in here.
He was using street epistemology. That's why he sounded the way he was. Go watch it. Street epistemology is actually very fascinating. It's new.
I'm very familiar. It's also deceptive.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting because
no,
one
it's
of the reasons
it's deceit.
Okay, one of the reasons why I find it interesting is because they talk to another person about their belief system, and it's not necessarily Christianity that comes up. Sometimes people are questioning, and they happen to be atheists, and they're actually pushing, okay, well, why do you believe what you believe? Why is your belief more valid than belief X? If I had this experience and I came up with this answer instead of that answer, how did I do that? And I watched it on videos. I watched hours and hours of it, and I just find it so fascinating.
Oh, who's behind who originated street epistemology, Muggles?
Oh, I have no idea, but there's just one guy that does it really, really well, and he's like,
yeah, you're being duped. Okay, are you talking about Anthony? Are you talking about Anthony Magnabosco?
I have no idea, but this is one of the nicest
Is he
guys
bald?
I've ever heard.
Yeah, is he bald?
Okay, here's his. See, I'll explain it. First, he goes up to a person. He has his camera tilted down.
Okay, Muggles.
He asks him, would you like to talk?
Muggles. Are you listening to me?
Is
he bald? Is he bald?
I have no idea because the camera's always on the other person, and you can never see him.
Okay, yeah, it's you're probably talking about Anthony Magnabosco. He's another deceitful person. You're being duped. Okay, you don't know enough about street epistemology and where it all comes from. It originated with Peter Boghossian, who is a foaming at the mouth, rabid atheist. He wrote a book called A Manual for Creating Atheists. Right? He has a total cockamamie definition of faith, much like Aaron Ramanoodle does. All right, it's a total bastardization and a totally invented definition of faith. Right.
You know what? Aaron Raw did not do street epistemology well. He was really bad at it.
That's because Aaron Raw is an unhinged, foaming at the mouth atheist. At the back of the book, A Manual for Creating Atheists, Peter Boghossian really shows his true colors. He wants to use the government to go after religion and God belief. He wants to financially cripple religious organizations, right? Now, the people who do street epistemology, they're not doing epistemology. This is just what they're calling it, okay? This is like people knocking on your door and say, hi, we're local Christians, and we'd like to do a Bible study with you. Then you find out they're in a cult like the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons, right? They're not doing epistemology. They're not really trying to help you develop good reasons for you to believe what you want to do. What they are doing is stealth atheism, atheist evangelism. Okay.
Okay. So here's
one. They are being.
Just a second.
They are being.
Not on.
Okay, I gotta mute her. Okay. Now. They are attempting to create atheists. So they're not trying to teach people epistemology. They're not trying to help people to find good reasons for the things that they believe in. That's all the sales pitch. Okay.
Can I
Anthony Magnabosco, who is one of the leading representatives, disciples of Peter Boghossian, is a deceptive person. He acts all mild-mannered in there. Okay, he had several opportunities to talk with me. He refused to talk with me in several of these online Discord rooms. Okay, because then his atheism would be exposed. You see, he's hiding. Okay, listen carefully. Anthony Magnabosco is hiding his atheism venom. He's hiding behind a facade of being a nice guy. His real goal is to turn people into God deniers. Okay?
Okay. So here's a video of his called "Is Gender Binary?" So that has nothing to do with religion
Did
whatsoever,
you
and
post
he's
it in the
challenging
atheist helpline?
someone based on their belief of sexual preference rather than their belief of religion.
Muggles, did you post it in?
Or would you like me to post it in this chat in Atheist Helpline?
Atheist helpline. I'll see if this is Anthony Magnabos. Yeah, it's Anthony Magnabosco. He's a deceptive clown. Okay, he hides behind this nice God facade, right? What he's about is he's trying to turn. This guy is spending an inordinate amount of time of his personal life trying to get people to be atheists, but he's not telling people he's doing this. He is imitating Peter Boghossian. He's following Peter Boghossian's book, right? If you go to the Street Epistemology website, it has all references and links to rabid atheist sites.
Okay, then the question would be, why is he talking about gender and not talking about religion with someone?
Because it's a part. It's a part. I'm answering you. It's a part of the deceptive ploy to hide the fact that he is trying to create atheists. They're willing to talk about other related topics, right, as a cover. Okay, his real purpose, his ultimate goal, is to create atheists. Okay, do you understand? Look, there's a show. I think it's called what is it? It's called the New Covenant Group on YouTube, and there's a guy who runs it. I forget what his name is. He's kind of strange, but he had an atheist on there who had training in epistemology, and he said what they're doing is deceitful. They're not doing epistemology.
All topics of discussion are derived foundationally from your worldview.
We'll see. You know, we'll see if Anthony Magnabosco would like to come in here. Chad, can you? Or we can try you people. Try inviting Anthony Magnabosco to come in here and talk. He won't come. He knows who I am. He won't talk to me.
Playing field equal, probably come.
No, yeah. Look, Anthony Magnabosco is a deceiver. Okay. He's not trying to help people develop a better way of forming beliefs. He's trying to create atheists. Why do you think he calls it street epistemology? Because he's following Peter Boghossian. Okay? You see how easily you were duped by Anthony Magnabosco?
It's not Anthony him personally, it's the method and what I see on the video that I find impressive, not necessarily the guy himself.
It's not impressive, it's deceptive.
Maybe she isn't even able to tell the difference.
You are impressed because he's cool, calm, casual, okay, nonchalant. This is all a part of the act. Okay, Peter Boghossian talks about this in his book. He says, if you get angry, if you get into a big argument with somebody, people aren't going to change their mind. So what you want to do is you want to be cool, calm, collected, smooth, ask people questions. Okay. Listen, you cannot disconnect and disassociate Anthony Magnabosco's thinking from Peter Boghossian and his book, A Manual for Creating Atheists, because that's where he's getting it from. You can go to the Street Epistemology website. Right here. All right, let's see here. Street Epistemology website. Okay, I just loaded Anthony Magnabosco. We see a huge picture of Anthony Magnabosco. And here's what it says: helping folks evaluate the confidence in their claims. This is all BS. That's not what he's about, okay? He's about creating atheists. Anthony Magnabosco is a skeptic and an atheist from San Antonio, Texas, who's been practicing and promoting street epistemology for years. Okay? What's street epistemology? It's the ideology and methodology. It is the ideology and methodology of Peter Boghossian, who wrote a manual for creating atheists. Okay? You really want to know what Anthony Magnabosco is about? Get a copy of Manual for Creating Atheists. I have a copy of it. Okay?
Wow. Do you have a link to the site that you're talking about?
Yeah, go to anthonymagnabosco.com. This is all a form of stealth atheism. It's deception. Says, let's see, Anthony okay, let's see. He's the founder and current executive director of the new nonprofit organization, Street Epistemology International. All this is about promoting atheism. This is deceptive, like the cults out there. Okay? Now, he says he's a skeptic and an atheist, but he's just hiding behind, quote, street epistemology. It says here, I initiate friendly conversations with people to see how they arrived at their deeply held beliefs, and then ask respectful questions to help them discover if the methods used are unreliable, so that more reliable methods can be employed to maintain the belief and or the level of confidence in that belief. This is all a deception. That's not what he's doing, okay? This is the facade, all right? What he's really trying to do is get these people on the path to becoming atheists. You understand now what you're dealing with there, Muggles? Hello, is my mic still?
I can't find anything yet. Just a second. His website is not very well done.
I'm going to read you some stuff from Peter Boghossian's book. Here's in the footnotes. He says this. He says tax revenues can then be put into public health programs that attempt to contain faith and promote reason. Well, what's reason? It's atheism. Okay?
Well, someone just sent me the book so I can read it now.
Okay, go to, you write this down. You can go to, I don't know if the page numbers are going to be same on these electronic versions. Go to chapter 9, containment protocols. Okay? Listen to this. Everybody got your seatbelts on? Just as the body is exposed to toxins, so is the mind. Faith is an unclassified cognitive illness. Did you hear that?
Yeah, just a second. I'm trying to
Peter Boghossian, who is the ideological mentor of Anthony Magnabosco, says having faith in God is an unclassified cognitive illness. Now, he is working with another woman who's trying to work with the American Psychiatric Association and remove any religious exemptions so that anyone who professes belief in God will be diagnosed as mentally ill.
That's going too
Okay?
far right there.
Well, that's who, you know, Anthony Magnabosco may say, oh, well, I'm not teaching that. Well, this is your boy's book. This is what street epistemology is ultimately all about. Okay? And I'm going to scroll down some more. Number 2 in the containment protocols. All right? Chapter 9, number 2. Okay? Stigmatize faith. They need to stigmatize faith-based claims like they are racist claims. So somebody says, I believe God created this world and that he has a plan, and we human beings need to work together in a way that's honoring and pleasing to God. He considers that as bad as a racist claim. Okay? I'm not even reading you the subsequent paragraphs. I'm just giving you the salient features, all right? Let's see. Let me scroll down. Number 8, treat faith as a public health crisis, okay? Biological viruses strategies bear a remarkable resemblance to the methods of religious propagation. Religious conversion seems to affect personality. In a viral paradigm, the God virus infects and takes over the critical thinking capacity of the individual with respect to his or her own religion. Okay. Now he's quoting Darrell Ray. Peter Boghossian is quoting Darrell Ray from the book called The God Virus. Okay. These aren't people who just disbelieve in God. These are people who are on a mission, okay, to eradicate God belief. All right. Just as society has established mechanisms to deal with contagions, pathogens, and infectious diseases that affect our water, air, food supply, with objectives like ensuring that commons are free of toxins and preventing the spread of diseases, there's also an urgent need for large-scale interventions in educational systems, houses of worships, and other institutions that promote failed epistemologies. Okay? Right? Says this.
Where does this guy do his
what?
Where does he do his thing? I'd love to come across him one day on the street.
Anthony Magnabosco, he's in Texas.
I would love to go to Texas and just happen to find him.
Trust me, he'll talk with you really calmly. But if you go with a copy of this and you read the stuff that I'm reading right now, he will distance himself. He won't want to talk about it. He'll walk away. I consider him a deceitful person. Okay. On all his YouTube videos, oh, he's real slick, like a used car salesman. Okay. Let me keep reading here. This is from his mentor, if you will, Peter Boghossian. Okay. I advocate conceptualizing the faith problem from a public health perspective and designing interventions based upon this model. Number 9, financially cripple purveyors of faulty epistemologies. You know what that means? Financially cripple any religious organizations. A key containment protocol is to financially cripple any institution that propagates faulty epistemology. You know who that is? That's religious organizations. Ultimately, the tax-exempt status of religious organizations must be removed, and particularly those exemptions that are not granted to other nonprofits. Once these organizations are financially compromised or defeated, if you will, their reach and power will be greatly diminished. Okay? He says, here are 2 better, more politically viable medium-term 5 to 10-year goals to financially cripple faith-based institutions. Okay? This is not some guy who's neutral trying to help people understand how to better arrive at what beliefs they hold. This is a guy who's a foaming at the mouth atheist. Here he says again on the next page, both of these measures would deal a serious financial blow to religious institutions and restrict their ability to proselytize. Now, does this sound like somebody whose real motivation is just trying to help you develop a better way of believing things? He says this, lending your support to the Freedom from Religion Foundation. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is a group of radical, foaming at the mouth atheists who like to sue any institution they can if they make reference to God. Number 10, create atheist children. Okay. Number 11, remove religious exemption for delusion under the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. Okay? In other words, they want people to be who believe in God or something supernatural to be diagnosed as a psychiatric case. It says this, it is crucial that the religious exemption for delusion be removed from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. Removing the exemption that classifies a phenomenon as officially recognized psychiatric disorder legitimizes research designing to cure the mental disorder. There is perhaps no greater contribution one could make to contain and perhaps even cure faith than removing the exemption that prohibits it from classifying religious delusions as mental illnesses. Says, in the long term, once these treatments and this body of research is refined, results can then be used to inform public health policy design. That means government policies to contain and ultimately eradicate faith. Now, do you see what Peter Boghossian's really about, Muggles? Is my mic still working?
Yep.
You see what Peter Boghossian's about, Muggles? And this is who Anthony Magnabosco is following. Street epistemology is Peter Boghossian's baby.
Maybe it's such a severe blow to her preference for the video that she's just silent. Can't say anything.
Actually, I had to go to the bathroom, But what this does is it makes me reevaluate. See, this is why I like new knowledge, because then based on the knowledge, I decide to either change my view or augment my view based on new knowledge. That's what I like about science. You can change your idea in like a split second based on new knowledge.
No, that's not necessarily true. That might be in some cases, but you see, science is driven by paradigms. Okay? Right? Science is not overall driven by individual discoveries. It's driven by paradigms. And paradigms are the metaphysical framework by which we interpret facts. So I'm going to tell you right now, if we got Anthony Magnabosco in here and I were able to start asking him some questions, he wouldn't remain cool, calm, and collected. That facade that you see on his YouTube channels would disappear quickly. In fact, I have shown up on other servers where he's present, and he knows who I am. He won't talk to me.
Because you're on to his tricks, Darth.
Look, I consider what he's doing is outright deception. Oh, hi, we're just trying to help you develop a better way of believing things. Hogwash. And this car was driven by an old lady to the store once a week.
Okay, so the initial impression I got was that he was just asking to learn about different worldviews and what people believed and what they didn't, and to say, well,
all a subterfuge.
And ask questions. So when you watch his videos, that's the first impression you get. You don't realize that he's written a book like this one, which I'm scrolling through right now, which sounds a bit
Watch this.
almost
Okay,
like
listen,
a manifesto.
You want to see this? Okay, I'm gonna post a link with. Hold on a second. He's not here. Okay. Is there anybody willing to go into the street epistemology server and invite one of the three people to come in and explain street epistemology to us? Say, we were just discussing what street epistemology is or is not. Is there anyone willing to go into that server and invite them to come over here? Oh, thank you very much for no volunteers.
Yeah, I'm banned from there.
Anyone? Oh, thank you, volunteer.
Can I have a link?
He's supposed to be, YFN is supposed to be coming back. So.
Hey, I'll go.
Okay, all right. And just say we're discussing street epistemology, wondering if anyone there who's more familiar could come in and explain.
Sure, I'll be right back.
And watch, they won't remain cool, calm, and collected and smooth.
All right, let's see here. Welcome to Street Epistemology. Please take a second to read the FAQ section. I have to do this stupid process to become a member. I'll try to be quick about it.
Muggles, if you get a chance, go onto YouTube and watch any lectures by Peter Boghossian. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, don't be fooled by Anthony Magnabosco's, soft tone. This is all an act.
Are there still people in the voice chats?
There should be 3.
Oh, I didn't get the member rule yet. This guy didn't. Fuck. 1 sec.
They're in Lounge Voice 2. And there's one person in Lounge Voice.
Yeah, I don't see it. If you go to general text chat, I'm asking for the member role. Can I have the member?
Okay, so what do you want exactly? Ask.
Just go watch Peter Boghossian, okay? Then you're going to see who Anthony Magnabosco is actually representing there.
Okay, yes. Someone's pinging mods for me, so hopefully they'll give me the role and then I can quickly just ask them to come in here.
I doubt they'll come in here. They're usually cowards.
I'll try to be extra nice about it.
Which is going to be hard for you.
The voice founders are locked.
See here on Anthony Magnabosco's Twitter page on May 8th, he posted, "Recovering from Religion is a great organization, and they've helped throngs of people manage the harm that can be caused by religion and cults."
Where do you see that on his website?
On his Twitter site.
Twitter. I avoid Twitter. I don't even. Twitter is the scourge of humanity. Twitter should be like abolished. People say stupid shit on Twitter.
I don't use it.
It's evil. And then people will lose their job because they accidentally said something wrong 10 years ago. I mean, it's horrid.
Well, that's the point. If you post something on the internet, you can expect it to go public.
That's why I warn everybody. I warn all my relatives. It's like, if you post something on the internet will remember. They have the Wayback Machine, so don't even think that you could get away with anything. And I used to tell my kids that all the time. It's like, if you put dick pics out there, they're out there. People will find them. And if you piss off the wrong person, they will post them.
Okay, I had to talk with 3 of them. Hopefully, one of them join. They said they would pop in.
So one of them just went out. So did they say if they had to join the server or not?
I gave them the link to the server. They should have joined. I gave 3 of them the link to this server. Damn, did I just get lied to by... Oh.
Have to assign roles before you come in here too, or I don't remember how. I don't remember. I forget. It's been a long time.
No reports of any bookstores being looted in Atlanta.
Did you just say bookstores being looted in Atlanta?
There's no reports of bookstores being looted. In fact, they never do get looted, do they? Huh.
They don't have big screen TVs. I swear that first day of looting, that one guy had one of those huge carts. He had 5 big TVs and he was hauling his butt out of the store. I was like, what does that have to do with Black Lives Matter? Nothing. They're just opportunists. They're Ferengi.
Hey, Darth.
Yeah.
So, 2 of them are trying to get in, but they can only see the main channel. They need to... Do they need like a role or something to be able to... Or it's verified or something like that?
I don't know. Tell them to select a... Where's Chad when we need him?
Oh, gosh. Maybe Blackout could. Hold on. Jeez, yeah, where's Chad when you need him? Holy crap.
Okay, I don't know if there's something wrong with my tablet or my earphones, but I don't hear anybody speaking. Is it just me, or is no one speaking?
Well, they're all in the process of lighting incense to 5x8 glossy pictures of moi.
Oh,
God.
all right.
One of us has an airsick bag.
So, how do you think that's the debate is going to turn out tomorrow, Darth Dawkins, between T-Jump and what's his name, Mr. Batman?
Oh, that's going to be just a circus. They're both mentally deranged.
Well, I disagree with Mr. Batman on the whole keeping the Torah thing, but what else do you disagree with him on?
Oh, he's just not mentally stable. I mean, he's been calling me a heretic for a couple of years now because he got muted on my server.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
I guess you haven't experienced Mr. Batman long enough.
Well, we've had some pretty good conversations. We've had a few debates too on the whole Torah thing, though, because I disagree with him on that.
He's calling me Mr. Muggles. That was the one thing they kept doing. I guess he got off on that. Mr. Batman was calling me Mr. Muggles.
Now, he said in Pal Talk he was a hillbilly Christian or a Christian hillbilly or something like that.
Oh, were you in Pal Talk? I'm Muggles Cake Sniffer from Pal Talk, so my name here and my name at Pal Talk are the same.
Oh, I remember you. Okay, I remember you now.
And Yahoo too.
Yeah, I get banned from a lot of those Catholic, fake Catholic Pal Talk chat rooms, and looks like I'm getting banned from a lot of the fake Catholic servers in Discord as well.
Well, I like the idea of being able to talk with each other without having to worry about getting booted out of a room or something because you said something.
Guys.
And that's why I like some of the more liberal. They're not liberal as far as there might be people with liberal ideas, but the ones that tend to hold back from the dot so that people can talk and be challenged in their beliefs rather than something like the Lamb of God room, where if you say something that doesn't comport to their very narrow view of Christianity, that will dot you or bounce you. But I like the idea of being able to talk with someone and not worry about getting dotted or muted, and being able to have a full conversation. And then at the end, if we disagree, or whatever. But at least we've talked out and you've rethought your belief system and you're like, well, he's got some good points there. And you kind of take that away and digest it, at the end of the talk.
Hey,
okay, so I see we have your friendly neighborhood atheist is back.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't want to
I'll just call you Walt. No, that's okay. So I see on your YouTube channel 2 months ago you had an interview, and you explained how you became an atheist. Could you give us a recap? How did you become an atheist?
Sure. When I refer to myself as a Christian previously, I do understand that everyone has different definitions. So from my understanding at that point, I believe I was a Christian. However, if in comparing it to many of my other friends who identify as Christian, I would say, okay, maybe I wasn't, accurately Christian and was more theist. It started with, I guess you could say politically for me. I was very much right-leaning Republican, conservative Christian, and I got tired of like hearing people argue with each other, and I was like, okay, half I'm just using this obviously sparingly. Half, don't know that that's the exact statistic, but half the country is seeing the world very differently, or seeing our country very differently. I'm like, it's not 5 people, it's, close to half. Maybe I am missing something. So I forced myself to watch news stations that I didn't agree with. And it was very difficult for me at first, because I would be like, nope, this is wrong, this is wrong. And the more I listened, the more I'm like, okay, I can actually kind of understand where they're coming from. And from that, I stumbled across an atheist channel. And when I first heard that channel, I was like, man, these guys are dicks. Why are they talking to people like this? Why are they arguing over definitions? I'm like, just talk to the person. And I didn't understand. So as I literally kept forcing myself to listen, and I realized eventually that I was personally making a mistake. And I'm not saying anyone else is making this mistake. I'm just saying this was like the mistake I was making. I was essentially personally believing in God without a reason, without investigating it. I was just accepting it because I was told that. And it was at that moment where I'm like, wow, I am making a huge mistake here. I am essentially saying, I don't know, I don't have a better explanation, so I'm going to believe in God. And again, I'm only speaking to myself, not for other people. So it was kind of in that moment where I really, I guess you could say, let it go, and where I started to question my stance a lot. And that is where a lot of my foundation, I guess you could say, cracked, and a lot of my views began to change. And I do.
How did you come to the conclusion there is no creator God?
So, but by my own definition, and I recognize we may view this very differently. I personally will not ever say there's no God. I think saying there is no God is dishonest, and I don't stand by necessarily atheists who will say that, because to me, how can you sit here and go to a Christian and say, I want evidence for God, but then turn around and say there's no God without evidence? So I would personally never make that claim of no God, because
you're neutral as to the existence of God.
I absolutely, because at the end of the day,
so you're neutral toward the existence of God, but you've selected a word that historically and in widespread usage designates the non-neutrality and denial of God to represent yourself.
If historically that's how it's viewed, then yes. The definition I personally recognize would be that I remain unconvinced, but I would never be so bold as to say
why have you picked a word which in widespread usage and in most of reference works indicates that it is the falsity of God? If you're going to say that atheism is neutrality toward God, what would be a singular word in the English language that would designate clearly the denial and falsity of God?
That's a good question. I feel like there should be a better word for that.
So you picked a word that designated historically and in widespread usage the denial of God, yet you're claiming to be neutral toward God. You see why that doesn't pass the smell test?
I am doing my best to explain it. No, I get where you're coming from. So from my understanding, is the current definition is a person who simply lacks the belief. And I guess you could say
where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from? I've looked at all the major dictionaries, and although there are a few minority of dictionaries that include that, this is not the standard usage of the word. So basically, you're just trying to say that you're neutral toward God. Now, are you willing to assert the necessity of referencing God as the necessary precondition of all facts? Are you willing to start with God?
I can't because I don't know that I can believe in a God.
So you're unwilling. Okay, so you're unwilling to start with God as the metaphysical first principle of all facts. Then you're unwilling. Is that correct?
I don't want to say I'm unwilling. I'm just saying I
So
don't.
then you do. So then you are willing to start with God as the metaphysical first principle. Then
I guess you could say I'd be open, but I don't want to say willing.
I didn't ask you that. No, I didn't ask if you're open. I ask you, are you willing to accept and start with God as the metaphysical first principle of all facts?
Without more information at this current point, no, I can't.
Okay, then you're not neutral toward God. If you're unwilling to start with God as the metaphysical first principle, where God is ultimate absolute, the creator and sustainer of all facts, then you have, in effect, whether you realize it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, you have denied the existence of God. Because now your position entails that facts, you are unwilling to assert and affirm that facts are created facts. Therefore, they're just brute facts. They just simply happen to exist without referencing God. So you're not neutral toward God in spite of the fact that you claim you are.
Well, I guess I'm trying to be neutral because I'm not intentionally.
No, you are intentionally. Are you willing to affirm and assert the necessity of referencing God as the prerequisite to all facts? Are you willing to assert that right now?
No, I can't. I'm sorry.
Good. Then you're okay. Then you're not neutral. You've now decided that facts can be invoked as standalone without the necessity of referencing God. So you're not neutral toward God.
You're certainly willing to say facts that don't reference God. You're willing to do that.
Yeah, you're willing to start without God when invoking facts. Isn't that the case?
Could you say that again?
Are you willing to invoke facts without the necessity of referencing God as the necessary precondition of facts? Are you willing to start without referencing God?
At this moment, yeah, I would say so.
Good. Then you have now denied God indirectly, so you're not neutral.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I guess
it's not where he's coming from. That's what follows from what you're saying.
Yeah, it follows necessarily. Now, people in your position, the atheists of the last generation or so, have radically changed from atheists a generation ago. Atheists of a generation or so ago would boldly declare there is no God. This generation of atheists wants to say that atheism is simply the absence of belief. Now, there are or is a minority of atheists who will assert there is no God, but the vast majority of atheists want to hide behind that atheism is just an autobiographical statement whereupon they have an absence of a positive affirmation of God's existence, where they're neutral.
Well, I hope you're saying I'm not hiding, because I'm not intentionally trying to hide. I'm trying to be as open and honest as possible.
You are telling me that you're neutral, but I just went through it step by step, showing you that you are in fact not neutral. You are unwilling to start with God for whatever reason, and you are willing to start in speaking about facts without the necessity of referencing the God. So you are willing to start.
I really hate to
God.
interrupt this bullshit browbeating over this dude's name, but I got asked to come here to talk about street epistemology. Do you guys do anything here besides talk in circles around terminology? Or do you is there something I can help you guys with? Or is this like
Listen,
what is this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just want you to stop talking.
There's
all
no
I hear is bullshit.
There's no browbeating here. And in fact, YFN was gracious enough to call me
All
out
right.
on
Well, I'm
his
going to
YouTube
take off.
broadcast.
This really
Well, hold
looks
on a
like a room
second.
I would
full of
flee
men.
too. After I heard what Darth just said, I'd run too.
Listen. If you want to converse, and he fled.
I tried.
He fled. Isn't that show? You see what Snowflake? Okay, this is a guy who is a regular over at Street Epistemology.
What was his name?
These are people. Trouble,
oh,
which was a very fitting name. Now, what's interesting is this: YFN. You and I don't agree,
right?
But there's no hostility between the two of us. Okay, right? And he. Do you feel? And listen, if you disagree with me, please feel free to disagree with me. The only people I get pissed off are people who are trolls. So far, you haven't given me one reason whatsoever to think that you're a troll. You've conducted yourself in an impeccable manner. Okay?
Thank you.
And please on. Do you feel that I was browbeating you?
I didn't take it that way.
So, Darth, I tried. All that work for nothing.
Yeah, it's because you let him hear the talk beforehand, Darth. You should have jumped on him right away. He saw what was coming. He was like, "Oh, I got to duck out quick."
Now, this is a guy who's a street epistemologist. So, in other words, he wants to sit there and question God believers and try to explain to them that their reasons for belief in God are unreliable. Yet, when I'm critiquing YFN's position on atheism, from my point of view, that it's not reliable, that guy has a hissy fit. Right?
I wish he would have stayed and at least, attempted to have a dialogue with you, because I wasted quite a bit of time trying to get him in here.
He's back in there right now. If I can get him back in here, would you mind just pausing our conversation?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Maybe you can tell us what bullshit he was talking about too.
I don't know. I can't. I definitely don't want to speak for someone else. That's for sure. I would hate to misrepresent somebody else.
Oh man, I'm salty about that. He just
Can
leaves right away.
you tell me the name of the channel, the Street Epistemology? I'm just interested in going over and seeing what they say in there.
Yeah, it's just called Street Epistemology.
Okay.
I can give you a link.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
No problem. Hopefully it's still active. Not sure.
Hey, can I get a link too?
Who's asking?
Pro Atheist.
Sure.
Thanks, bro.
No problem.
The guy doing the street epistemology, does he have an actual epistemological position? Is he like a foundationalist, or
He didn't really
like
get into
that?
detail. He didn't really get into details like that.
I just thought it would be funny if a guy doing street epistemology would be a foundationalist, just because the street like foundation. I don't know. It's kind of my sense of humor gets a little wonky after 10 o'clock.
Hey, Shotgun, I see you have the fascist role. What's your position on church and state?
Can you say that again? I'm having a hard time hearing you, Mike.
I saw that that one of your roles is fascist, so I was wondering, what are your views on church and state?
I think so. I don't think there's a distinction between the content of church and state. It's the same people. So if there's a distinction between church and state, it would be formal, some kind of institutional distinction.
Yeah, I agree more or less with that. I believe in a distinction between church and state, just not a separation thereof.
Yeah.
Like my opinion is that basically the church is supposed to be or that the state is supposed to be spiritually subjected to the church, and that the state therefore recognizes the church.
What do you think a state is?
Well, a state would be the governing body, which deals with civil affairs, whereas the church deals with religious ones.
Doesn't a father deal with civil affairs? In other words, what I'm saying is, so let me take a step back and just say it this way. I think a lot of times when we talk about political theory, a good place to start is sometimes talking about what a state is exactly. And it sounds like a simple question, but especially in America today, it can be very complicated because we use the word state in so many different ways. I mean, just our federal system alone, you could be talking about a state like the state of Georgia or South Carolina. That's a state. Or you could be talking about the state government, or you could be talking about the federal government. You know, so I think usually when people say the word government, they're also referring to the state. But I think a distinction needs to be drawn just to be precise.
Yeah, when I say state, I'm talking about that function which we find, that functioning body which we find throughout all societies. You know, so like whether it's the United States or any other country for that matter.
So, on my view, the state is a bureaucratic institution that, so it's different than like say, to simplify it, you could say like a king in a feudalist type of government. Yeah. A king would like own private property that's the size of the entire nation and parcel out that property house, you know, to nobles, to basically his relations, or to or he could parcel it out in different ways, but that would not be an example of a state, on my view, because it's not a bureaucratic government. So I just personally distinguish between bureaucratic institutions and non-bureaucratic institutions, because I think there's a lot of different types of government that are not necessarily
what
state.
A non-bureaucratic state, like what would that look like? An example of that?
A non-bureaucratic government. Because on my view, all states are bureaucratic. When I talk about that entity, that institution that we refer to as a state, I'm talking about a bureaucratic institution. But a non-state government could be anything. I mean, we govern ourselves as individuals. There are social conditions, same and honest conditions. We sometimes refer to social mores that govern our behavior. Parents govern children. But usually people don't think of parent-child relationship or the family government as a state. So there's various different types of government, but states, in my view, are only one type.
Yeah, an example I think of a generally well-functioning church-state relationship would be like the Holy Roman Empire. Now, during certain parts of it, there were definitely problems, such as in the late 400s, where they didn't abide by the Council of Chalcedon, and certain popes would have to write to them saying, "Hey, you guys, the spiritual guidance which you give to the empire."
Hey, so Thomasino, take this conversation to the chat room below, please.
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I had a talk with that guy, and he totally freaked out, and then he muted me, so he couldn't hear me. He basically had a mini conniption fit and lost his mind.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
What a waste of time.
This individual.
What's that, Tomasinos?
Who's the person you're talking about? I joined before you came back in.
He's somebody who was hanging out in the street epistemology server, okay, who claim that they're there to try to help people develop a better way of believing things. And he didn't like my analysis of the concept of atheism. And he flipped out, fled, and said I was browbeating YFN at the bottom. And YFN said that he wasn't being browbeaten. You know,
Well, you said your analysis was bullshit, but I never heard his response to it. Or
I didn't hear. Yeah, I didn't hear a rebuttal. He's just angry, and I'll tell you why. Is because
you hit too close to the mark.
So many other atheists. Yeah, that's because they want atheism. They want to co-opt. They know what atheism means. Okay, that there's no God, but they do not want to define it that way. They want to define it as simply ambiguous, as an absence of belief in God. Hey, every atheist that denies the existence of God has an absence of belief in God. So telling us that they lack belief is not explanatory. It's ambiguous. They're equivocating. Okay? So, as I was saying, in spite of the fact that agnostics and most atheists want to represent their position as neutrality toward God, neutrality toward God is an impossibility once we understand what God is. If God is the ground of all being, what is metaphysically primary, and everything else is secondary or derivative and temporal, then if we are unwilling to start with God, right, then when we invoke facts, either explicitly or implicitly, those facts will be invoked without the necessity of referencing God. And that necessarily entails the denial of God. Because in a God world, all facts are created facts, and all facts would necessitate referencing the necessity of God. So if I were to add, sure.
I was just wondering, like, then where does an agnostic fall on that?
An agnostic is simply, as Madeline Murray O'Hare would say, they're atheists who are cowards.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. And I should say Madeline Murray O'Hare, peace be upon her, may her soul rot in hell forever, was America's most famous atheist, okay? But you see, even intelligent atheists themselves strongly criticize this whole movement of atheism, trying to say, oh, it's a lack of belief, right? I mean, it's just bad definition for several reasons. Well, if atheism is just simply neutrality toward God, then what is it that somebody who denies the existence of God? Is there a singular word that is in widespread usage in the English language that denotes the denial of God? Oops, that's right, atheism. So atheists want their cake and eat it too, right? I watch an inordinate number of atheist chat shows, and when they're discussing the definition of atheism, they always want to say, oh, it's a lack of belief. Oh, we're unconvinced. But when they're not immediately discussing definition, it is very clear what their attitude is, that there's no God, right?
Right.
So the point is that agnosticism is simply an indirect denial of God, right? To sit there and say, well, I don't know. To say, I don't know that there's a God, right? All right, let me just backpedal here. The internet atheists want to say, well, agnosticism has to do with knowledge, but atheism has to do with belief. This is ridiculous, because T.H. Huxley, the man who coined the term, did so because atheism denoted the falsity of God. Theism denoted the affirmation and assertion of God, and he wanted a term that encompassed where one had no belief, including knowledge of God. And I can give you a direct quotation from T.H. Huxley to that effect. So agnosticism isn't about simply, I don't know there's a God, because that's the etymological fallacy. There's a reason why T.H. Huxley coined the term. But modern atheists want to define it in a way that atheism now becomes an autobiographical statement, just a testimony to their personal psychology, and doesn't answer the question, still doesn't answer the question, do you believe there is no God? Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on, I got to switch my headset.
Oh, okay.
I can still hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, so I was just I guess I'm just trying to understand. So would you say, for instance, like a Muslim or a Sikh, are they denying God, or would they technically only be denying the Christian God? Like, what's your
they're denying God indirectly because they're adopting a non-existent idolatrous conception of God. Right?
Okay.
Those gods don't exist. Now, do they explicitly deny the existence of God? No, but they do so indirectly because their God conceptualization is simply idolatry.
Well, they would directly deny the Christian God, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, let's make it very clear. Either atheism is neutrality toward God or it's not, right? Now, people desperately want it to be neutrality toward God because then you don't have to defend it, right? But atheism is basically claiming, or excuse me, agnosticism. Well, in philosophy, sometimes they'll designate positive versus negative atheism. Positive atheism being the outright denial of God, and negative atheism is more akin to lack of beliefism, or closer to, which is indistinguishable from agnosticism. But that version of atheism and agnosticism is claiming that it's not really making a universal negative, that either God is or God is not. But they are making a statement of universe out. They're making a universal negative in their reliance on themselves and invoking facts by choice of not referencing the necessity of God. So you see, God is unlike any other fact out there. You could be neutral toward Bigfoot. You could be neutral toward unicorns. But when it comes to God being the ground of all being, you can't be neutral toward that. You will either affirm it or you will deny it directly or indirectly. An indirect denial of God is every much a denial as a direct denial. But most atheists on the internet will vehemently fight this because they know they cannot defend the falsity of God. So what are they going to do? They're going to say, oh, atheism is a lack of belief. You know, this happened in the debate between William Lane Craig and Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens tried to pull this type of, faulty reasoning. William Lane Craig, having 2 earned PhDs, says, you seem to be using atheism as a kind of theism, like an umbrella category. And under that, we have classically and historically what is known as atheism, the denial of God. Then we have agnosticism, which is you're saying you don't know whether there is or God or not, or theological non-cognitivism. Which one of those things, which one of those positions is yours? And do you know that he had a mental meltdown on microphone and he couldn't answer the question?
No, I did not know that.
You can see it for yourself. He literally became unglued, and then he said, I've become unwired. Right?
Whoa.
So let's make it very clear. Atheists who insist that atheism is a lack of belief in that it expresses neutrality toward God are only fooling themselves, and they're doing so in order to insulate themselves from having to defend what they really believe. Now, if somebody says, oh, but I really don't believe there's no God, say, good, then you believe that God exists. You say, oh, no, I don't believe either. Well, the fact of the matter is you're still operating by choice without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God. So it's a denial of God, period. If a mother goes into a pediatrician and she's the last appointment of the day, the doctor says, I have 5 minutes. Do you want your daughter to get the vaccine? If she cackles for the next 5 minutes and doesn't directly answer the question, and the doctor says, I have to go now, I'm going on vacation, he walks out the door, has she denied her daughter the vaccine? Well, yes, she has. She's done so indirectly. So people can deny God indirectly. So there is no neutrality toward God. It doesn't look. There's an atheist show called Truth Wanted. Have you ever heard of it? It's on the. It's a sister show, The Atheist Experience.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've only watched it. I think I've watched it once.
Yeah, yeah, and the backdrop says, "Call us. We're open-minded." I laugh at that every time I see that. If one has made a determination that one or more facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God, then no future facts will either. Because either all facts necessitate referencing God or no facts necessitate referencing God. So when an atheist says, well, the facts that I'm acquainted with do not compel me to reference the necessity of God, but maybe if you could show me some new facts, that's incoherent. You cannot have some facts indicating God while other facts do not. Okay? So when an atheist says they're open-minded, what they really mean is, well, I'm not open-minded. I deny the existence of God, but if you can show me something that will change my mind that God exists, well, then I'll be open to that. Well, anybody could talk like that. So the bottom line is atheists are not neutral. Theists are not neutral. Nobody's neutral. We are either willing to start with God as the precondition of all facts, or we are unwilling to start with God as the precondition of all facts. Right?
Right.
And notice how the question's been phrased. It's a matter of, are you willing? Because if I phrase the question in terms of belief or no, then the agnostic or the atheist can go, well, I don't know. Now, I have asked over the last several weeks of the very few atheist chat shows that I've been able to get on, I asked that question, are you willing to assert the necessity of referencing God as the necessary precondition? And they dodge the question like it's the coronavirus. Right? And the answer is, of course, they're unwilling to start. You see, you answer the question honestly.
I do my best to.
But other atheists do not. So your position then is you're unwilling to start with God. Therefore, whatever facts are invoked are without God. Okay? They don't necessitate referencing God. And if facts can be invoked as being actual intelligible without the necessity of referencing God, then that constitutes the denial of God. You see, in a world without God, all you're going to have are brute facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might say some facts are related to other facts, but eventually, whatever facts you start with, they will terminate in brute facts, right? In other words, there's no explanation why they just simply exist, right?
And
now, yeah, go ahead.
So I guess just so I understand, like what's wrong with brute facts, or I guess how do you define brute facts?
Well, let me get to that in a moment as to what's wrong with it. But let's make it's very clear that if one refuses by the choice of their will to start with God, and therefore all facts are created facts, right? Like, for example, the Eiffel Tower is in a theistic or a Christian worldview, the Eiffel Tower is a created fact. Even though human beings reconfigured the iron, right? It is still a created fact by God, right? Mm-hmm. So ultimately, all facts have not only their chronological connection with God, contemporarily, right now, they continue in existence because God upholds all things by the power of his will. So it's not just God is the first cause. God is what is metaphysically primary for anything right now. So if somebody is unwilling to accept that all facts are created facts by starting with God as the precondition of facts, then they will be by default be acknowledging that brute facts, right? So suppose we could talk about a sequence of facts that are connected to one another, causally related, but they're always, in that worldview, they're going to terminate in brute facts. So in that sense, all facts then become brute facts. And to acknowledge that facts are brute facts is the denial of the existence of God. Because in a God world, there are no brute facts.
Okay, I get what you mean by that now.
Right? So there's no escaping the analysis of neutrality. And this is one of the probably the biggest problems I face in interacting and dealing with atheists. Most atheists do not want to face that they're really not neutral.
No, I mean, from how you've explained it, then yeah, I'd be willing to accept that. Based on how your specific definition, I would be willing to accept that I'm not neutral.
Good. Then how does it that God doesn't exist?
Well, I'm not. I want to be clear to the best of my ability. I'm not saying God doesn't exist. Because I can't prove that to you, and I would never. And
No. Listen, you must understand that it's not simply what you affirmatively express; it's what your position entails. There are people languishing in prison for murder because although they vehemently denied committing the murder, they implicated themselves as the murderer. And one can implicate themselves as denying God while claiming, but I'm not denying God.
When Darth says you're not neutral, what it means is you either affirm the existence of God or deny it. There's no middle ground.
Okay. I guess I don't. But here's my dilemma. I can't lie to you. So if I'm right now to tell you that there's no God, I would feel like I'm lying to you. But then at the same time,
then how come you say it with every fact you speak? You deny the existence of God implicitly.
How is it that God is false?
I guess I can't say God is false, though.
So then the very criterion of belief that atheists use to dismiss God, they violate when they embrace atheism.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
The very criterion of belief that atheists use to dismiss God, such as there's no evidence for God, I have no reason to believe in God, then they have no rationale for the not God position. You see, both positions are universal negatives. Affirming God exists is a universal negative. Affirming that we're in a not God world is also a universal negative. Right? You say, well, I would accept God if I just had a rational justification for it. But by default, they're adopting its negation as a model of reality. But they don't have a rational justification for the not God scenario.
Okay.
You see? It's only because atheists have fooled themselves. It's because atheists, for the most part, have been on the receiving end of very, very, very poor instruction from atheist philosophers and other atheists on the internet. You see, you don't get a get-out-of-jail-free card, right? Now, in theology, there's something called the Principium Ascendia, right? It's just a fancy word meaning what is primary in existence, right? What is it that is ultimate and absolute, from which all possibility and impossibility are instituted and secured? If we do not believe or accept that God is, we're not a principium ascendia free. We're just rejecting that what is metaphysically primary or first or ultimate is a personal agent. Now, what happens is some atheists will say, well, why do we even need an ultimate? Well, if nothing's ultimate, then nothing exists.
Why is that?
Okay. It's because when we talk about ultimate here, we're not talking about laundry detergents, right? We're talking what is ultimate is what is metaphysically and foundational first and primary, from which all secondary states derive and arrive. You can't have a secondary state without a primary. So atheists need to be taught or explained what is it that they're precisely not accepting, because atheists have a conceptualization of God, that God is this unimaginably powerful, unembodied boogeyman of the universe who is supreme. But being supreme doesn't make you ultimate. It just means you're the biggest bad boogeyman in the universe or the cosmos. But God is defined as ultimate. He's the principia ascendia. He is metaphysically primary. He's ultimate. He's absolute. He is the source and the current basis of all possibility and impossibility. Now, if somebody says, well, I don't believe in that, say, can you please then explain to me? Now, I'm going to give you a quote here from a prominent atheist who considers himself intellectually savvy and philosophically sophisticated. And I'm going to show you he's a babbling fool. I said, since you don't accept that God is ultimate, can you please tell me what is ultimate then that institutes and secures all possibility and impossibility? Is there something that is singular like that? And he says, yes, reality. And I said, you realize that's a throwaway answer. That's a non-answer, because reality is an abstraction. So you mean the set of all particulars? And he goes, yes. I said, well, then that would not be ultimate, because you cannot have each member of the set being ultimate, because then they would each exist for different reasons. So none of them would be ultimate.
It'd be peers.
So then they would just,
so to speak.
That's right. That's correct. But they would also be unconnected and unrelated. There would be nothing that, from a metaphysical standpoint, that imposes unity from the top down. Right? In terms of ontology, they would simply exist independent of each other. They would not. There wouldn't be anything foundationally before it. And so you would have a plurality of things just existing, right, as brute facts. And therefore, then chance would be ultimate, where anything goes. There isn't one thing that is overall and ultimate and singular that institutes and secures metaphysically what's possible and impossible. So therefore, anything goes. So now the atheist is in a chance world. Now, they may try to extradite themselves by saying, well, I don't believe that chance is ultimate. I believe that there's something that's singular and ultimate, but it's not God. Say, okay, how'd you arrive at that? And the answer is they couldn't. Because if what is ultimate is impersonal and a non-agent, you would never be able to know.
Okay.
So for the atheist, when they do not acknowledge God's self-disclosure of himself through all of creation. See, what the Bible says is that God reveals himself in everything. Even me holding this ballpoint pen is a revelation of God. How is that a revelation of God? It's not the pen, it's me. It's the fact that I am a rational being and have rational acquisition of the pen is what the evidence of God. Because without the ground of all being an agent and a rational being that creates a world according to a plan and then endows you and me with the rational capability because he is rational, if that is not accepted, then they're going to have to explain how are you and I rational beings in an ocean of non-rationality? And all they're going to be left with saying, oh, it's an emergent property of evolution. But you see, even atheist philosophers, brilliant ones, recognize if naturalism or materialism is true, then minds do not exist. What we call minds is just simply the cascading and chronology of molecular and chemical and neurological occurrences.
You definitely have a very large knowledge set. Like you well articulated. You clearly know what you're talking about, and I'm definitely learning a lot. That's for sure.
Well, I'll be honest with you. After watching your show, I did not expect that you and I were going to have the cordial interaction that we're having. We're not agreeing, but I think we're having a cordial interaction, which I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I appreciate that because I usually don't.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just taking a drink of my Diet A&W root beer, sold at your finest retail outlets all across the fruit.
Diet root beer is good. I love Diet Dr. Pepper.
Darth, actually, this week we're being endorsed by Pepsi. you gave the wrong.
All right, my mistake. This is my assistant who always reminds me of what plugs to make. You know.
Oh, sorry. By the way, I didn't get a chance to meet you. What was your name?
Me? Just call me Darth.
Oh no, sorry. You said your assistant. I didn't.
I'm not really his assistant. Oh. He likes to joke around.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you.
Wait a minute.
Nice to meet you.
You're not really my assistant?
Oh.
Well, send me a check, Darth.
I have an extra pad of Apple. I don't have any cash at the moment, but I do have an extra pair of gratuitous Apple AirPods.
Ooh.
Well, I'm not gonna work for garbage.
Whoa.
That's an inside joke. An inside joke.
Oh, do you not like Apple?
No, I like it fine. I always joke about because Darth always has these long spiels about how great Apple product.
That is very hurtful. That's just mean.
He really loves Apple
with
products.
all the abuse that with all the abuse that I put up with the atheist and all the sliming and the slander that is out there, couldn't you be nicer to me, Parakeet?
Yeah, you come back to your home server, and here I am waiting with some comment about Apple products.
And next week is the Worldwide Developers Conference where they're going to announce new products.
Oh my gosh.
And wait till next week. You're never going to hear the end of it.
No, I can't wait for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're going to be coming out with some new. They're going to be switching to their own chips. The chips that power the iPads and iPhones, they're going to be coming out with laptops with those in it, which will be amazing to see.
Wow, that's going to be a big improvement.
Yeah. Now, whether or not of course, they're not going to dump Intel right away. They're going to transition.
Well, yeah, that would
definitely
ARM.
start off with
They're going to start using ARM-based chipsets.
Well, they start with the basic ARM design, and then they have a computer chip company that they purchased for $250 million a couple of years ago. And they've been modifying the ARM chips to their own specifications.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Well, there are already laptops right now that use things like Qualcomm Snapdragon, if you know what that is. It's primarily a mobile chipset. And while it's less powerful, I mean, it doesn't really use nearly as much battery as a desktop-grade processor would.
You know, it's a little funny bit of trivia. When ARM first made their chip, they never intended it to be a low-power chip. And one day, somebody pulled the plug or cut the electrical supply to one of their test chips that was in a computer, and the thing kept on running, and they were dumbfounded.
Really?
So it was just unintentional.
It was unintentional, and they said, "How the hell is this chip still, cranking?" It did go on for a long time, but they realized, wait a minute, what's going on here? And it turns out that there was residual electricity stored in various components or capacitors that was leaking out, and the processor was, I guess as you say, sipping on it. And that's how they discovered that the chip could operate as a low-power computational device.
I didn't know that.
That's interesting. I thought Apple bought out AMD not too long ago. Not like bought the company, but just like started mass using AMD's products.
Where?
I don't remember. I could have sworn I saw something saying that Apple was leaning towards AMD. Oh wait, no, I don't think that was Apple. I can't remember the company, but I think some companies started switching over to AMD products.
Yeah, Apple has an amazing history of transitioning their chips. They do a very elegant switch, so we should expect to see this as well. I guess they figured out over the last couple of years they're going to be able to scale these chips up for laptops, because the A12 or the
A13, A13 Bionic, I think.
Well, the A13 is in the iPhones. It's not in the iPad Pros yet. But that thing's a beast of a processor in the iPad Pros, and it's as powerful as many laptops. So, they'll be able to scale that up. It's going to be fascinating to see, but too bad Parakeet won't be around to see it.
So I have a question for you, Darth. So the processors, well, they're not technically processors, they're APUs. I guess processors, they use it in consoles, right? So they did a test, and they used an Apple, I think it was an iPhone 8 chipset, and they did a comparison using a benchmark to see how much different an iPhone 8 chipset processor was compared to a PS4 one. And the iPhone 8 processor wasn't actually that far off, because consoles use a lot of cores and they're not very high clocked. But the PS4 still kicked the iPhone's ass in terms of graphics, because one can play 4K games and one plays on barely 720p. So you can obviously understand that. But I guess I still agree that Apple is somewhat good at making good mobile processors.
You got to remember that the PS4 has a dedicated graphics chip on it.
Yeah.
The A series processors has its graphics cores internally on the CPU. So, but the graphics capability on the Apple chips are beasts in terms of performance. But as of yet, it wouldn't be a fair comparison to compare it to a dedicated graphics chip.
Yeah. Because Apple processors, they have like 3 graphics cores, something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, that's interesting. Snapdragon actually has also been interesting too. It seems like they're kind of getting more. They're like closing the gap between the A series processors from iPhones, especially the new 5G capable processors.
Oh yeah, they're nothing to look down the nose at those, but they've always been consistently about a year behind in terms of performance to the A series.
There's the newest iPhone versus the newest usually it's Samsung, or sometimes these gaming phones that come out, they always have the highest end chipset, and I think it's a Snapdragon 865 plus. I could be wrong, but I think last time I saw a benchmark between that and I think it was the 812 processor, there's like a 13 or something percent gap. But the fact that Snapdragon has the newest ones at least have 5G capabilities, and iPhone still doesn't. Last time I recall, it's still pretty decent, but 5G isn't been that popular yet.
Well, they're not out yet. They're going to be out in September or October. No, not September. Yeah. It's probably out.
The companies haven't put enough 5G towers. Especially if you're living across the U.S. too, you'll probably understand that 5G phones aren't really wise to buy, because you can't even utilize the 5G capabilities yet until they do that, and that's assuming that your town's going to have one in the first place. I think it's Sprint and T-Mobile. I think those are the 2 main ones that are trying to spread the 5G everywhere.
Didn't they just merge?
Sprint and T-Mobile? I don't know. I used to have Cricket, but
I thought they just.
Can I ask you an off-topic question?
Yeah.
And this is only I ask everybody this. Have you ever karaoke'd?
Oh God.
Me? No, I couldn't sing to save my life.
Yeah, karaoke is really awkward.
Oh gosh, you don't want to hear me sing. That would be you'd rather see Rosie O'Donnell nude first rather than I can't sing.
Oh God, stop, Darth. Darth, that's below the belt.
Oh,
you
wait a minute.
Scarred everyone in this room, Darth.
Wait a minute, Darth. What about the Christmas special?
Wait, now you know what's funny? I bet. Google Darth Dawkins Christmas special. Somebody, Supreme Leader or somebody, find the Darth Dawkins Christmas.
I'm just googling it. Skylar Fiction, is that it? Darth Santa?
No.
I don't know.
Just post a link in the Atheist Helpline. I'll tell you if that's it. No, what it is there have been a few times where I've lost my temper and yelled at people and even sworn, and people are just salivating. They record it and they put it together to make me look like I'm a monster, which, that's the internet. But somebody went to a lot of trouble to make this sound like this was a Christmas CD.
The guy that posted it, his name is literally Penis Tooth.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Wait, what was that?
What?
I didn't hear what you said.
There it is.
The guy's name is literally Penis Tooth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's an atheist troll on the atheist servers. But just listen to it. It's really funny.
I will definitely do that when this is over.
It's an interesting video, I'll say the least. And actually, the editing isn't that bad.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. So many people just were like, "Don't talk to Darth. Don't talk to Darth." And I'm like, okay. But I see no issue. We're having a completely respectful and, if not, enjoyable conversation.
Yeah. It's like they see me when I get on like modern day debates, and these people they turn into complete trolls. You haven't been agreeing with me, but you're not acting like a troll. We're getting along fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to get up in about 4 hours for work, though, so I have to jump off this. But it definitely was a pleasure speaking to you.
Well, Thank you for coming on. I'm glad we had, just a good response. Usually it doesn't go that well with a lot of YouTube atheists, but you're an exception, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you and meeting everyone else, and thanks for having me.
Okay. All right, have a good night. Get some good sleep.
You too. Thank you.
So, what's your opinion of Intel, Darth?
I don't know. I guess the only thing I don't like is just the kind of like from an Apple perspective, Apple's just not happy with their refresh cycle. That they're constantly having to wait on Intel.
Yeah,
that's why they're going to transition to their own ARM chips. But other than that, I don't have a. When I heard that they were switching from the PowerPC to Intel, I was delighted. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, Intel used to kick AMD's ass at least in commercial desktop processors. Like their performance was just so much better, and the value was just so much better. But now AMD seems like they're what?
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's where I was going. The processor I have, the Ryzen 5 3600, it's a really good processor, and it's definitely an upgrade from my last one.
The days are gone when you told somebody that you have an AMD chip in your computer. No one's going to react like Deadpool. You know how Deadpool when he goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good chip. I have a really big, thick cooler on it. I have 2 fans, so it's a push-pull configuration. And then if you know anything, yeah, I'm a gamer and I'm a tech enthusiast. Like I build computers for fun and I mess around with that. Any chance like I can go to a convention or something, I'm definitely gonna go towards that opportunity. But I'm trying to get into coding and stuff too now. Specifically like graphics wise and IT stuff, because it's a career path that I've been interested in for a long time.
What's interesting is if Apple makes the transition to ARM, that means that there won't be any more Hackintoshes.
I don't know. They're probably going to find some way around it. I don't know. The whole Hackintoshing, I didn't even realize it was a thing until like a year ago.
Yeah, it's a whole subculture out there.
Yeah. I wonder. Oh wait, I can't remember. Samsung, I think, was the company. I think they reached out to AMD because they want to use AMD processors in their phones because mobile gaming seems like it's kind of still on a rise. I haven't really paid attention much to it. I mean, I play games on my phone, but they're not like 4K Ultra HD games. They're just like little boredom busters. That's what I like to call them.
Yeah, but does AMD make low power chips?
I don't know. I mean, the chip I'm using in my computer is 65 watts, but TDP is irrelevant because TDP is just a marketing scam. If you get into computers well enough, you eventually learn that. Because the way I see it, TDP is a far-off estimation of what your computer actually uses. But half the time, people don't even care about watts. They just look at voltage, especially if they're overclocking.
What kind of games do you play on your system?
Well, I don't know any video games you know about, so I'll just list them. I play like the new Call of Duty Warzone game. It's pretty intensive. I have an older AMD GPU too, but it's still really good, and I only got it for $80, so I can't really complain. I play like games like that. I play the Battlefield games. Sometimes I do rendering and benchmarking and stuff. If you know what that is, too. What else? I play the new Assassin's Creed.
I like the I haven't played Battlefield in many years, but I loved it when they came out with like the second or third version, and you actually made the walls of buildings could be destroyed.
That was the third one. I'm pretty sure, and then the fourth one was also. The fourth one, it's kind of a bigger thing. And the fourth one, there's a whole map where you can break a dam. And it was kind of disappointing because I wish you could break the dam and you could like flood the town that you were in. But instead, it's just breaking the dam and nothing more.
That's where I first got started debating Atheist, was playing Call of Duty and Halo.
Oh. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, I consider myself a somewhat amateur computer enthusiast. I definitely don't have enough money to constantly be building computers and stuff, but anytime somebody wants a computer built or something, one of my best fields is determining whether someone's getting scammed or not, especially if they're buying used parts, because I'm pretty well informed about like prices and price of performance and stuff like that. So when it comes to helping people out, that's probably my strongest suit. But
do you think that Parakeet is getting scammed when he buys non-Apple Bluetooth headsets?
What's the brand that he's buying specifically?
I don't know. Probably some non-Apple one.
Parakeet, what brand? I can't hear him. Can you guys hear him?
That's because he's using a non-Apple headset.
My mic muted.
Oh.
I don't buy Bluetooth.
Yeah, you're not Apple Bluetooth. Oh, you're wired?
Darth, don't get mad at me. I don't have Bluetooth headphones, or I have Bluetooth headphones, but they're not Apple. I have Bose headphones, but they're not earbuds.
Oh well,
they're like the more professional studio grade or whatever you want to call them. But I can't be more satisfied with my purchase. I mean, I bought them on eBay brand new, and I saved $100 doing it.
Oh man, you can get some great deals on eBay.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't spend. I wouldn't spend a lot of money because you can get easily ripped off. But
yeah,
low ticket items, you can get a great deal on eBay.
Hey Dorothy, you hear about this story where this blogger, she wrote a bad review on eBay, and I think she did a whole blog about it too. So these eBay executives, or I can't remember what their title was, but the seller and like the executives, they went after this woman for getting like giving them a bad review, right? So they sent her a bunch of spiders and cockroaches and shit, and then I think they tried doxing her, and then a whole bunch of shit like that, and they've all been charged with I think it was like harassment or something, but they're like all facing a fine of like $200,000 collectively.
Oh my gosh, not a good.
Yeah, it's interesting how people can act online, specifically towards like buying stuff. I mean, yeah, I guess you'd be a little mad for getting a bad review, but are you really going to say that you're going to half-ass shipping and sending a product and stuff, and then it comes in a box that's barely intact, and then you get a bad review because of that? I mean, what kind of logic is that?
You give one bad review, and everyone loses their mind.
Yeah.
Oh well. Hey, listen, I gotta run. I gotta hit the sack.
What high-pitched fucking what? What are you talking about, Roach? What high-pitched noise?
Every time you speak, it's like on like